Yeah.
Address that, just so you know.
Maybe start.
Oh,
So you can get your copy for them to sign.
Thank you.
All right. Are we recording and mute? Okay, sorry.
Yep, you guys are.
All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Atchison County Commission meeting for Tuesday, March 28th. Would you please join me in the pledge of allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment. Do we have anyone on at all, Kaylee, for public comment?
Oh, I thought I had participants up there. No.
Okay. No public comment. Additions to the agenda. I have added Dee Gehring, the Walnut Township Clerk, will be attending our meeting today at 11:30 a.m. So, do you guys have any additions to the agenda?
Yeah.
No, did you have?
Yeah, I was gonna do that in commissioner comments.
Okay.
Reading and approval of minutes. Do we have a chance to read the minutes?
Yeah, I move to approve minutes.
I'll second. Oh, excuse
There
me.
are no minutes, guys.
I didn't see them.
I read something here.
Sorry. There are
No, I didn't see them, so I was just,
Yeah, there are no minutes.
Oh, that's
Okay.
that's 3:14 minutes. That's what I just read through this document.
I said minutes won't be here until next week.
okay. Commissioner comments and committee reports. Commissioner Rivas?
I don't think I have anything.
Okay. Commissioner Knowles?
We have a workshop meeting on Friday, and I believe I have it's a week from Friday, I have a area agency on aging meeting on April 6th. Oh, that's gonna be a conflict. Because we have budget meeting on that day? Okay. That may be a conflict, I'll have to work that out.
Okay. Commissioner Knoll and myself and our road and bridge superintendent, we attended the Northeast Kansas County Highway Officials Conference last Wednesday in Oskaloosa. Appreciate the hospitality we had from Jefferson County. It was a really good conference, and walked away with several pages of notes, and look forward to implementing some of those and utilizing some of the resources that were talked about. We have a township meeting. Our annual township meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 10th at 6 p.m. in the Blue Building in Effingham. So making sure everyone knows of that. I received a anonymous feedback last week, or I guess it was Monday, that they would like me to share this situation, but apparently the city of Atchison has a cat issue, and their anonymous feedback form was, please address cats. We need a solution. Southside has cats all over, neighbors are frustrated. We shouldn't have to trap them ourselves. The 3 per rule needs to be enforced. The cats are approaching elderly and they are scared to be scratched. If this is heavily populated in South due to a relocation program, share this situation. So I just want to let everyone know the city of Atchison has an animal control department, and the phone number is 913-367-5530. I left them a message yesterday to let them know what I was made aware of, and that would be my best solution on how to handle that. So that's all I have. Okay, 10 o'clock. Road pavement request policy discussion. I added this to our agenda in talking to our road and bridge superintendent. A constituent of mine came to me and said, hey, my neighbors and I are all going together, we're gonna dust control this year, but we want to look into what it would take to pave our road and how do we go about doing that. Joe and I talked, historically, before probably any of us, it's been brought to me that in order to do that, people have put their own resources and financial into a road to bring it up to snuff and once, and then that the county then takes it over for maintenance. But again, I'm not aware of anything in writing since I've been here, so I wanted to bring that up for conversation so that I can get this gentleman an answer, one way or another of what, I know Joe and I talked, it's hard when you don't have enough resources to take care of what you have, but then also the thought process after going to like that Northeast County Highway Officials Conference of, look at your county from like a broad overview of all your assets and figure out which ones you should be taking care of and if there's any assets to take off the list. So I think it's probably gonna be part of a bigger discussion, but just how we feel, and they're planning ahead too. Like they're not gonna do it this year, you know, they're just asking, like, this is our goal, so how can we accomplish this together? So.
Has anybody been here since we've added a chip seal road, or I don't know what the process was before, Pat?
It has, I can't think of any that have been done since I've been here. I think the last one might have been off of Rooks Road. It might even be called Rooks Road, where Don Ball lives.
Well, that's,
A few blocks, but I think that might have been the last one that was paved.
So how was it done? Was it a cost share, or was it?
It was before I was here. I don't know.
What about the one that goes by Paradise Lake, west of Lancaster? Because the county took over, that was a township road. And the county took it over and then chip and sealed it, so, and I don't know that was before me, but it wasn't that awful long ago, so I don't know what the process was.
and I
for
honestly, I don't know what the process is, so, I don't know, where would be the best place for us to look?
I don't know.
I mean,
Well, maybe I'm interrupting here, but I think probably this isn't something that we should try to look and see what the policy had been 20, 30 years ago, that we need to make a policy, because whatever the policy is, it's the three of you that are going to have to fund it and enforce it and accept it.
But you're not aware of
Embrace
any
it.
policy.
I'm not aware of any written policy.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Well, my question too is, if we're talking about like a quarter mile stretch of road between some houses, are we talking actually 3 or 4 or 5 miles of road? I mean, there's all kinds of parameters here.
Yeah,
this particular example is a road with several houses on it. So,
but how long?
I would have to tell you, I would have to go figure that out,
Yeah.
the length. But I know from one end to the other, it's my understanding that all the constituents are willing to
Okay.
look into a solution, so.
A lot of times cost shares work really nice, where, you know, whatever the percentage split is, where we pay part, they pay part. But when finances are strapped, you have to really look at that closely, how you wanna do that.
Well,
There's also an advantage to them of doing an improvement district, because then what they contribute, if you will, is going to be a tax, which is going to be tax deductible generally for them, rather than just an improvement, so.
Yeah, those benefit districts are actually, that's a pretty good way to go. It puts it on the tax bill, so it's bonded, I think, usually, right?
Well, it depends on the scope, but yes, they definitely can be. The one, I've never done one. The one time that I was asked to look into it, we kind of started to do it. It wasn't going to be big enough project to require bond, but one of the local banks was willing to underwrite it as a loan, essentially.
so for that, then you're allowed, like you can form a taxing district based on a road area of the people, and then it's just an additional property tax line item for their improvement district that they pay for?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And I don't remember all of the requirements, but the assessment is based upon linear footage along the road for the benefit district.
Okay.
We did one of those recently for the new house that broke down. So all the water and sewer lines, so that was all packaged that way. So each lot pays so much per year for up to the term, maybe 15 or 20 years.
Okay.
But yeah, in that way, it's just built into your payment.
Okay.
It makes it easier, I think, to do some of these kind of projects.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, I will get some additional info for you guys and we can come to visit about it again, come up with something if that's okay.
I think there'll have to be some kind of supplement, you know, for us to be able to swing any additional, you know, at this time, until we get our problem roads kind of taken care of. I mean, I wouldn't,
Well, and the thought process of having the owners bring it up to where it should be first, that takes away all the picking and choosing, because like, if I want my road paved and you want your road paved, but if the people are actually putting that
yeah,
financial,
skin in the game.
yes, first, then it's not it's consistency, I guess, because if you wanna do it, you can do it too, but you have to fund your road as well. So it just feels better, I think, from a commissioner standpoint of being consistent across the board of, there's a process and it's up to you if you wanna put that, you know, put that in.
But then also in the future, we'll have to budget in maintenance on that also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of once they bring it up, what's their timeline, and maybe we require a certain, you know,
But
we
then
need a
what's-
3-year heads up if you're gonna do this, or two, you know, whatever it
Because
is.
then we have, you know, we have to budget.
Yeah.
Keep it in there, so.
Okay. Well, that, I appreciate the beginning conversation on that. We're ahead of schedule, but we will go ahead and, we have Joe Snyder, Road and Bridge, and Ben Taylor, Noxious Weed Director, with the Noxious Weed Annual Report.
We'll let Ben present the annual report.
Yes, I've given each of you copies of the annual report to review. We believe that it's complete to the best of our ability. I've got to present this to Scott Marsh with K.S.A. along with the management plan for 2023. On page 4, there's a sheet to sign, and I'd like to try to get this signed so we can move forward with it.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the annual Atchison County Annual Noxious Weed Eradication Progress Report for 2023, presented by Ben Taylor, our Noxious Weed Director?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0. I'll sign my.
Do we need two
Well,
copies?
I've got it, I've got
Oh,
it.
you have one you need?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I guess we'll just pass that around.
Okay, thank you.
And as discussed before, I'll get a copy of that sent over to Michelle so that she can,
Yeah, this is gonna be posted, attached to our, meeting minutes.
And while we're on this, Ben and I went to a taxpayer who had come in last year with wanting to purchase Tordon, and we went to this gentleman and talked to him and apologized that the route we had to take and his inconveniences.
I appreciate that.
And Ben was introduced, and he was very appreciative of the fact that we came out and made that effort, and was willing and looking forward to working with us in the future. So we've corrected that issue in our office, and that shouldn't be a problem anymore.
Okay, thank you.
that's all I've got.
Okay.
It's moving forward, everything's going pretty good, we're getting things in order, taking a little bit longer, but, you know, we're getting there. If anybody have any questions about anything going on,
Did you start spraying anything yet?
what's
Did you
that?
start spraying anything yet?
Next week.
I was gonna say, it's starting to green up out there.
They moved chemical
Yesterday.
yesterday
Okay.
to the shop, and depending upon what the rain looks like
Right.
on Saturday, Friday or Saturday, but that's,
Spring stuff.
Ben and I talked about today, they're gonna get everything ready and we're gonna start next week.
We talked about it earlier about when you go to 410s, are you gonna have someone available for chemical sales on Friday?
I've talked maybe till noon. And our policy last year was a little different, but maybe till noon, we may work, the 9s in the office or something to make it work to where they're half a day on Friday.
Okay, I know we discussed it and I just,
Yeah, and it's kind of, been discussing that with Emily and we'll see how that goes.
okay,
But that's kind of what we're looking at.
all
And
right.
we'll let you know hopefully about Tuesday.
Do you know when you're gonna go to 410s or?
Here before long, in a week or two, probably the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
They've been asking every day. So,
I don't have any.
Okay.
anything?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you both.
I realize there's additions to the agenda. The clerk had handed me, we have several purchase orders to tie up, our, final payments to a new healthcare, management that had managed, Senior Village for us. So the first one would be paid to a new healthcare, in the amount of $7,714.26 for the management consultant fees for February of 2023. That was prorated, based on our contract ending February 18th. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
Second.
The mid sneeze, I'm sorry.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. All right, I'm going to just keep going and then hand you the packet because there's several.
Yeah, she can reclip it later.
Yeah. Okay, this is a purchase order to a new healthcare for $368.16 for payroll reimbursement, invoice 0000478-IN. Do I have a motion to approve?
Now, these are all just, I always like payroll final.
So these
Payments.
are, and I can add them up if you'd rather me do one, or they're all individual, so I was just gonna.
Okay.
Let's
But
just
yeah.
approve them as individuals then.
Oh, okay,
So
so,
moved.
okay,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0. All right, purchase order to a new healthcare for payroll reimbursement in the amount of $2,781.68.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0. Purchase order to a new healthcare for $449.98 for payroll reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0. Purchase order to a new healthcare in the amount of $5,142.44 for payroll reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0. Purchase order to a new healthcare in the amount of $163.62 for payroll reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Purchase order to a new healthcare in the amount of $5,709.76 for payroll reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. All right, purchase order to a new healthcare for $409.07 for payroll reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Purchase order to a new healthcare for $300 for an AP reimbursement.
What reimbursement?
That's payable.
Accounts payable for a core care invoice number 2370.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, all of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0. Purchase order to a new healthcare for $409.07 for a payroll reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0.
It probably should be noted that our clerk and the administration at the senior village has already reviewed all these, so.
Yes, yeah, we're doing the final
Yeah.
review.
Right.
Okay, the last one of this bundle is a purchase order to a new healthcare for $286.35 for payroll reimbursement.
So moved.
Aye. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Sorry, I get
Passes
distracted.
3-0. Alright, so let me get these put back together and then we have another bundle. Okay, purchase order to a new healthcare in the amount of $1,079.95 for a payroll reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Purchase order for a new healthcare in the amount of $380.45 for a payroll reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Purchase order to a new healthcare in the amount of $5,167.20 for a payroll reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. And the final one I have is a purchase order to a new healthcare in the amount of $121.37 for payroll reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Alright, so I will put this back together, hand it over to you guys for your signatures. We're still good on time, so if you guys wanna just sign those, you can sign them and then we'll send them to Alan and
This should be our final expenses with the
Yep.
new, okay.
you can sign it, please.
Yeah, that's the first batch.
Sure.
bench and just the final.
We go through a lot of paper. You thought maybe trying to do one electronically?
I'm all ears if you have an idea.
Where's my old signature stamp in here? You guys go ahead and start if you want. I'll listen.
Okay, well, we have 15 more minutes before Corey is on the agenda, so do you have anything you want to visit?
No, we're just reminiscing about when I was chairman the first time. I believe there was one of the Benedictine bond council, one of the deals with them, and I think there was 50-some signatures that I had to sign on that. Basically, I just had to go and page after page after page.
Report's crazy.
It was sign or initial, and I thought, wow, it was a stack of stuff. It was just unbelievable.
Speaking of that, I guess I could ask a quick question. So Michelle had sent me an email that she spoke with Nancy at the Attorney General's office in regards to the opioid settlement, and that she talked to him about adding herself for the county counselor, but per Nancy, she said it had to be someone who could sign for the county. So they initially accidentally sent it to the city, but then noticed that the error, so they sent it to us, but apparently there are 5 more cases in which documents will have to be signed. So Pat's been keeping us up to speed on this, but I just thought that we should probably discuss this or have a motion for the chairman to sign on behalf, just so it's acknowledged that I'm getting documents to sign. I haven't signed any of them because I wanted to bring it to this meeting, so that I don't know if anything I'm signing should have prior review from our county counselor and then, hey, you're good to sign it, or it's all e-signatures, so
Okay,
just
just
wanted
for-
to ask you guys how to handle that.
Or do we have Pat review and sign? That's the only other,
Well, so according to Michelle's email, Nancy from Attorney General said that Pat and the clerk can't sign
okay,
because she said it's someone who could sign, it needs to be someone who could sign for the county. So,
I think you could designate anybody, including me or Michelle, but they would still have to be approved by you before we'd sign them, so.
okay.
I'm not sure it would speed things up much, but it would give one point of contact for dealing with it.
You've
So-
dealt with them, should you be our point of contact for,
Well, either me or Michelle.
Okay.
Maybe Michelle would be better, because she already has the file on what we have received, and
I know she's coming back at 11:30, so maybe we wanna include her in that discussion. Cause there's like 3 different emails on here, and again, when I open them, it asks for my signature, and I just closed out, cause I didn't wanna do it without coming to a meeting and talking to you guys.
I kind of like having, and there's nothing against having the chairman do it, but you don't know how sometimes these things go on. You don't know, and how long, if it's going to the clerk, we're always gonna have a clerk, and we're always gonna have a county counselor, but you know, if it's going to them, whoever
That's a
we,
good point.
however
10
we
years from now,
change.
we'll be saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
you're gonna sign it."
Well, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things too, is like, if she's the point person, then she can let us all know. With me, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm not gonna touch that until I come to a Tuesday meeting and talk to you guys about it, so, anyway, we can talk to her about it, and then I can just forward these emails all if she wants to be that point person. But,
Okay, yeah, if she's agreeable to it. I think either is perfectly capable, so.
okay. Also, I had talked to Wes and Michelle about distributing information to the public in the process. Walnut Township treasurer is still open, and then the Memorial Hall trustee. I know we talked in previous meetings the past couple weeks of, should we put it at the VFW and the Legion? Is that something we want to do, to get the information out?
Here, anywhere's fine.
Oh, no, anywhere's fine,
Yeah.
okay. I sat here by Mr. Henderson if he doesn't mind. Thank you. We waited for him to come in.
I just, so we need to
Okay.
take action, but we haven't put it out to the public, so we need to give direction to, if we want Wes or Michelle to repost these opportunities.
Well, I think we can, as long as they're open, it could be put out, reposted or,
Do we wanna give a deadline so we can, before it was March 3rd on Walnut Township and Memorial Hall, and we got to that deadline and no one had applied for either one. So, do we want to re-advertise them and give them a deadline of like 2 weeks from today?
I would, 2 weeks sounds good to me.
Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then try to garner a little more activity out there. I mean,
Yep. Okay, so 2 weeks from today would be April 11th. And where do we want them to advertise that?
all the usual ones Wes does, but we need to reach out to some other angles, maybe get it shared somewhere, or get it, I don't know, we gotta do something to get more word out there. I like for the Memorial Hall, we talked about the Legion of VFW.
So do we want Wes and Michelle to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, we send it directly to them,
Okay,
that's got better requirements, so.
okay. Okay, so,
Do you have any thoughts on that, Pat, about where else we could?
No, I think VFW and the American Legion would be good places.
okay,
And then the Walnut Township deal, these guys do better than I do, but I mean, there's gotta be somewhere to get some more interest out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interested in what though?
in your
Positions.
treasurer position.
Oh.
So we advertised it, we have a Memorial Hall trustee and then the Walnut Township treasurer. Both of those openings, we advertised them for a couple weeks with a deadline of March 3rd. And we got to March 3rd and we hadn't had anyone apply for either one. So we're gonna open it back up from today. Well, it's been open, we just haven't told anyone, for 2 more weeks. And then on April 11th, we will take and vote based on if we have any interest. Do you have any suggestions on where to advertise for the Walnut Township treasurer?
No, but I do know somebody was going to put their name in,
Okay,
and I'm not speaking out of turn because he told me that he had talked to Michelle yesterday, and she said, well, go home and write it up and bring it up and I can get it into the minute, in today, so, but I don't, y'all are here and I don't think it's here yet, just so you know.
I saw
But as
Ben
far,
Hawk posted something on Facebook, they're looking for a road grader, rock guy, backhoe guy, to take care of all the roads. Alan Dunster retired. So
Well,
I seen it on Facebook yesterday.
But who posted it? That's the thing, I don't know, you don't have a Facebook, a township
No,
Facebook?
I just saw it on there, and might have been Ben Hawk put it on there, I'm not sure,
Well, yeah, he's Benton Township
trustee.
trustee, so.
Okay, so I will let Wes and Michelle know to post Walnut Township Treasurer and Memorial Hall Trustee for 2 more weeks, and then, April 11th, we will see if we have any interest in the folder and go from there. Okay.
I'm just gonna see when
We're
April
gonna
will
post some of the fire department down there with St. Pat's Church. I was trying to think, some centers where people are gonna be around, where maybe you get some more interest.
Okay.
Yeah, St. Pat's Church does have a bulletin board when you first walk in.
Yeah. Yeah. The rural firemen down there, if they all kind of knew, maybe they got a wife or a friend or somebody, you know, just getting the word out.
Right.
The Potter Store, maybe, that's
Potter
not
Store, that's
caught
good.
in Walnut Township.
Yeah.
But,
It's close.
the church is on the dividing line, the church is
I
in
know.
Walnut.
But again, we've heard it's good food, so a lot of people are
Are
heading that
going
way.
there.
Oh, yeah.
Kids, you know, those jobs they're all kind of just thankless. I mean, there's a lot of work, and I get it.
I said the Potter Store is a good place too, because they're reopened and got food, and
Yeah,
they
they serve
advertise.
lunch and dinner and breakfast down there and
Just
stuff.
get a little interest stirred up at least.
Yeah.
What was the other place? I got Walnut Township, but what was the other? Memorial.
Memorial Hall trustee, yeah.
Thanks.
And
That has to be a veteran.
Okay.
they want it wired down.
It has to be a veteran who saw action during time of war.
Oh.
It's even more than, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, that was my fault
I
for not
forgot
being
that.
specific enough.
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
right. Yeah, the wire used to run it, yeah, but now it's got.
2 of the 3 have to be veterans that saw action during time of war.
Oh, neat.
And we have one that did not, so we have,
Oh.
the other 2 need to be.
Well, but it's a good deal. My
So-
dad liked it.
The deadline will be April 10th, then that Monday, and then we can vote on the little, is that fine?
That sounds fine.
Is that fine with you, Eric? Okay. All right, I'm gonna send that right now so I don't forget. We will select from candidates at our Tuesday, April 11th meeting. Okay. Corey's here yet. All right, Corey, you're up.
All right. Asked for time today to put a proposal out, possibly purchase a refurbished LifePak 15 cardiac monitor / defibrillator out of the opioid settlement money as opposed to purchasing a new one out of budget. So I'm going to apologize, and I'm trying to conserve paper. I'm going to pass this down. And that is a copy of my current 10-year capital outlay replacement plan. And what I planned for 2024 was to replace another aging LifePak 12. The newest one of those we have is from 2002. I think most people understand in medical technology that's museum pieces. So this is working towards getting all our frontline vehicles equipped with relatively modern technology. Granted, this would be refurbished because I don't believe the opioid settlement money would cover a new one. But I think between EMS and the Sheriff's Department, we bear the brunt of those opioid-related calls, and I think, my personal opinion, that's where the money ought to go to. So I'm requesting the possibility. I also have here our latest quote on a new one, just for comparison purposes. Delivered, it would have been $42,061.79. Whereas the quotes I received on refurbished versions from One Beat Medical And I crossed out some things we don't need on here. They quoted it a little more optioned out than we would need. They quoted one at $22,040.57, and Master Medical quoted us one at $16,995. Regardless of the two quotes, we would also need a Wi-Fi gateway. Those are only sold new. They don't refurbish those. That would have to be purchased from the OEM. And I got a quote on that at $1,173.95. So no matter if we bought it or not, I would have to add that on top of
Is that last figure you quoted? That's not the
it.
same.
Well, what I was comparing there, and that's my own notes, but that is the quote on the Wi-Fi gateway, and it has gone up by that much since we received that quote. That's how quickly these prices are changing. That
Okay.
quote.
All right. I just wanted to make sure
Not that old. So that was mine, but the actual price of the entire new one's on the next page. So here's that paperwork too for those quotes, and the top one is the Wi-Fi gateway that would be necessary. And the Wi-Fi gateway is necessary because when we pick up a patient in the field and we take a 12-lead ECG and identify the possibility of a certain type of heart attack called a STEMI, we transmit that 12-lead directly to the cardiologist at Mosaic or any other applicable facility, so they can read it and we can reduce the door-to-drug time or door-to-balloon time, which saves heart muscle. So the faster we can send that off. So that's why it's necessary to add that extra piece of equipment to that quote. That saves heart muscle. So wanted the commission's opinion on whether to go forward with this type of project or what your thoughts on it were. But I think that would be a way to spend the opioid money, the settlement money, in a way that benefits the whole community.
So
I agree.
replace this one, what's your next oldest one?
The next, actually, we'd be replacing, I put the newest of the old in there. The one in my truck's from 1999.
But how much opioid money do we have coming in?
Right now, well, as of, Pat gave an update on March 8th of $25,841.65 is what we had received. But there's 5 more to be determined. So,
You already had this in your budget.
I'm going to be requesting in my budget for 2024 a brand new one. If we could spend this on a refurbished one, I could pull that approximately $43,000 out of my budget request when I come in April. So this would save on 2024 budget if we did this.
Well,
I think it's a win-win.
Any thought about doing 2 refurbished?
I just don't know what the money, I would love to do 2 refurbished.
Well, I'm just thinking, if we do 2 refurbished, it seems to me like between opioid money and in your budget, there's more opioid money to come in yet, so you really, it may make more sense to get 2 newer ones refurbished.
I would
In
be
my
very
opinion.
open to that.
I mean, and then at least you're not behind the curve anymore.
Is
We've
that
come this far on the ambulances and getting all the boxes where we need to be, so why not?
And this does extend back, obviously, I inherited this equipment when I took over. This wasn't equipment we purchased, this is things that I've been trying to catch up from day one, clear back to 2016, so.
I would support this very much, but I'd really encourage you to look at if we can do them refurbished and get more bang for our buck and get them upgraded. Maybe start buying new ones in 5 years, I don't know.
Yeah, our next oldest ones that are still considered current medical technology were purchased in 2013 by the private company, and those are still in service and supported. So those would be the next ones to replace probably a few years down the road.
How would we have to do that since we don't have the opioid money in yet? Would you have to budget for a refurbished one and then we could, after the money comes in, refund that towards that? Do you, because we,
Yeah, I'm skeptical of anything where you expend money and then reimburse it from another source to,
Okay.
especially from non-budgeted funds, but that's probably an auditor question on how to do that. The requirements under our agreement are that the expenditure of funds has to be for anything that prevent, reduce, treat, or mitigate the effects of substance abuse and addiction, or to reimburse previous expenses. We haven't passed a resolution determining that we had any specific amount of previous expenses, which we would have to do before we could use it for just Because if you did that, you could spend it on anything, because you're reimbursing an expense that you already had. But all you would need to do is just approve this expenditure as one that prevents, reduces, treats, or mitigates the effects of substance abuse and addiction.
My opinion would be it definitely treats. We use this device on every single call we run.
So on the past expense, how do we have to put it out that so somebody is wanting to be reimbursed for any of this past expense? Or is it just a determination among us commissioners that we're gonna go forward with current needs?
I think the discussion, if I remember correctly from our county councilor meetings, was just that you had to adopt a resolution that determined that you made findings that the opioid epidemic had cost the county in these specific ways and had dollar amounts assigned to them. So primarily, I think those would be through law enforcement and mental health, but it could be more creative than that. But you'd have to adopt a resolution. I don't know how many counties have done that. I haven't heard of any that have, but I haven't looked to see, and I haven't asked if they have.
I guess my question is, do we have to actively look for past expenses or contact people to let them know that we have this before we move on? Or is it just a declaration that the commissioners make?
It would be expenditures that you're reimbursing the county itself for the county's previous expenditure of funds. It isn't for a member of the public to get reimbursed for some expense that they had.
Correct, but I'm talking about like if we would have to ask the sheriff if he had something, or already past expenses from the ambulance service, or do we have to, does that need to be put out in a form to where we can demonstrate if there would be something in the future that, oh, well, you acted rash, you went ahead with current expenses and didn't consider old ones? I mean, what do we have to do for due diligence?
Well, I don't think there's anything that's really required on it, but you're most likely to actually get the answer to the question by reaching out and asking how many calls did you have that were related to opioid, or can you give us some idea or some statistics or something, and ask the sheriff as well. Asking those questions, they may be able to tell you, and they may be able to track how many days people were in the jail or something like that to get specific amounts. Some of them are going to be really hard to track. If somebody who was addicted to opioids broke into a house to try to steal something to get money to purchase it, how much the deputy's time was associated with the opioid epidemic, it's really hard to tell. It gets kind of attenuated, I think. But sure, you could ask all of the departments that, and it would be primarily EMS and sheriff, and perhaps, well, I was thinking to say perhaps mental health, but we fund it, but we don't have a mental health department. It's a separate.
Community corrections?
Yeah, they would be too. That's true. That's true. And I think those would count as county expenditures as well.
I mean, I would be on board, to get the ball rolling. If we have to kind of do that first before we move on to current expenses, I think shouldn't we do the due diligence and look, that way we're ready to go?
Sure.
We've got a request for current now, but I don't think we can move on it till we know past expenses first, correct?
I think you can, because if you find that this expense is something that prevents, reduces, treats something from addiction, then you can spend it on it. If you want to spend this on something else, want to spend this on building a baseball field, you could do that if you're declaring that you're reimbursing the county for expenses that you made in prior years related to the opioid epidemic.
Okay, I took it as that we had to do that first before we moved on to this.
Yeah, it depends on which, if you're paying it as something that deals directly with treating addiction, then you don't have to do anything first. But if you want to spend it on something different, then you can't spend more than you can't reimburse yourself more than you actually spent, so you have to have a declaration of what you spent to be able to justify that, using the funds for that purpose. So,
As far as the current request, I mean, I'm 100% on board with it. I mean, the technology's getting, going so fast and we're behind on this. And I don't know how we move forward with more than one if we don't have the funds or whatever, but I would be in favor of it if we can swing the details on when we will have the opioid money, but then again, we don't know what our requests will be for previous.
Have we received any of this money yet?
yes,
That's what I thought.
25,841.65.
So we actually received that. There's
Yes.
5 more settlements we have not.
Yes. Yep.
Plenty of money there to fund one of them, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely approve this one, so.
Is it something you would like me to put out for bids? Those are just quotes.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a large enough purchase, bids would be in everybody's best interest. Now
I don't know about the refurbished ones. You don't always know if you're comparing apples to apples, if you're,
actually, I've specified, and I can specify that in a bid request, that it be the latest available version, which is version 4 for LifePak 15. It has to be version 4 for the way we're handling things, because version 4 is the only version of that particular device that will do the transmitting that we require to go to the cardiologist. So I can specify in there that it be a version 4 refurbished. The Wi-Fi gateway, is $1,000 a lot of money, but to me, that is going to have to come from the OEM, and the bid I have is what it is. So that's kind of almost a separate item, because these refurbishment companies do not provide those.
Sounds good.
So I'm also in favor of getting the bids. Do we need to go ahead and put on the agenda in the upcoming weeks to do that resolution first? Because you said we need to do the resolution prior to.
I don't think you need to do the resolution for this expenditure as long as you're making a finding that this is something that prevents, reduces, treats, or mitigates the effects of substance abuse and addiction.
Should we include that verbiage inside the motion when we approve it?
Yeah, if you wanted to have a resolution for it, we could do that. It would be a short resolution, but if you want one, we could have it for next week.
Yeah, it's fine.
Just so it knows what we're doing,
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and yes, I would say, well, do we need to do that before we tell him to put it up for bids, or should we just, do we need to make a motion?
No, I think if you're going to do it, if you want to go the resolution route, is what I understood.
Right.
So
doing the resolution
I think
first.
you'll adopt the resolution and
Okay. Okay.
All right, well, I will have Wes put that out for bids, and I'll have the bid period open for 2 weeks, so expect me back with bids at that time.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you. Everyone have a good
Thank
day.
You too.
And you can keep the paperwork.
Okay, he said we can keep the paperwork. Do you want it, or
yeah.
do you want to keep it, or do you want me to?
We
said
can just
we-
put it in the folder. Do you
Okay,
wanna
yeah,
just put
let's
it
do
in
it.
here?
You can always scan that in and email it to you guys.
That'd be awesome, thank you.
Yes.
I know, I should
Need
probably
more paper.
put this in there too, that way we have a copy of it scanned. I'm gonna put the noxious weed report in there too, Kaylee.
Yep,
To
we'll scan
scan.
that in as well.
Thank you.
We scan all.
And Brian will be here in 5 minutes, so we will have Brian at 11.
Can I do it? 1 minute.
Don't look at it.
Restroom break.
Okay.
That'll take.
Getting that seat warmed up for me.
Michelle's on her way with those.
Okay, thank you.
Here, you want that?
I did the equivalent of putting your telephone number on the bathroom wall. Did you see that email?
Yeah, that's fine. We're ready for it.
I see you still got that Suburban run.
Suburban? No, my sister has one.
No, the one you got from me.
Oh,
He saw it the other day.
yeah,
I thought I seen it on the road the other day.
yeah. We sold it.
Well,
Yeah.
Did you sell it to somebody here?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I seen it the other day.
Yeah.
And he told me, I said, huh? So it's like, I didn't see, I mean, I saw something, but I wasn't looking for that.
Tell you what, you
Every
can't,
time Joe passes it on the highway, he regrets selling it.
you can't beat one of them in the wintertime, snow on the ground. They go in the snow. That's all you see out in western Kansas.
It's a good looking bourbon.
They're driving.
For you.
Come out just for that.
And I'm sorry about the time, I thought you said 10:30.
Oh, you're fine.
So I just wanted to apologize for that.
No, I just thought you were interested in county business, which
Well,
I was
I
really
am.
excited about.
I am, truly, and that's awesome to know that about because see, where we live, we can't get reception. If he would've rolled his mower at the bottom of the hill, he probably couldn't even have gotten a signal to make a call. But being up on the hill where he was, he got one,
Were we fine?
but
Yeah,
it's
but
just,
they
you know,
got that.
county life.
Up here.
But I love it. Never thought they'd give me some of that.
Just a free one. 'Cause we'll rent every
Sorry, I had to wait.
Oh,
Okay, Brian Oswald, Facilities and Maintenance Director, will be doing a lawn mowing bid recommendation.
Yep. So I went back to each person and asked about dividing that up. That didn't go so well with everybody, so what I'm suggesting and what I wanna do is just go ahead and let Van Dyke have it all. And let him cut it and see if that improves what we're having troubles with at the courthouse, and go from there with it. It wasn't the lowest bid, but it's, I think, better for us to pick something that's gonna help us up there on mowing times and stuff like that.
May I see that when I ask for a motion? Thank you. Okay. All right, so based on the recommendation from our Facilities and Maintenance Director, I look for a motion to contract Atchison County Lawn Mowing Services for 2023 with Van Dyke Lawn Care, in the amount of total per mowing bid for all properties, $490. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. And
Unless you need updates on anything, we're getting ready to start traders. Of course, you know that because you're here. We're getting ready to start it and get moving on it. Everything else seems to be flowing fairly well. We're trying to handle whatever we can up the senior village and take it on and help out up there until they get somebody in place. Other than that, I think everything's going pretty good right now, but.
Now, knock on wood. Famous last words.
Yeah, what's that?
Famous last words.
Yeah, absolutely.
As of now.
You know, I just think that, the remodel takes a little bit of time that we're gonna get involved in, but, it's not much different to go into one than it was the other, so we'll start as soon as we can.
Do you have an estimated time on treasurer's?
I don't really have that time because we don't know what we're gonna find.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 3 to 4 weeks, but we don't know what we're gonna find in there. So once we get into the electrical part of that stuff, then we'll know a little more, you know, in advance, really. I've got set forth the people to come and cut, and we're waiting on windows to get here and to put in, and then the plaster will be able to do the plaster fairly fast too. Okay, won't take a whole lot of time other than what we're gonna find that isn't known yet, you know.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it. I'm out.
Short and sweet.
Easy enough, thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, we are half an hour ahead of schedule and you're next on the agenda, so. So, Dee Garing, the Walnut Township Clerk, is here.
That's me. I think all of you know me. Maybe. I'm not sure if you do.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, there was an incident at our last meeting, which I really was trying to get here last meeting to let it be known. Because as you can see, I carry around more than one piece of paper. And you know how you take notes? I mean, I don't know how anybody else does, but I take notes, and because I've already written stuff that you all have said that that person has to be a vet to do Memorial Hall, because I might know a couple. But Leo actually threw his spiral notebook at me first. I just want that to be known. I do know he was at the last meeting, and I have never played ball in my life, but when I threw mine, it hit him in the head. It was that book exactly, so it's not like it was this. Might have gone through my head, but I'm just saying. So I just want you to know that I truly did do that. He was very upset. He cursed at me. They both lied. They both, him and his sister Lisa, who is the treasurer, who's resigned, who's been showing up. And I know you all know that she's resigned. But I brought up her getting rock. And I said, so you got some rock? And she said, yeah. I said, how'd it get there? Or I said, where'd it come from? She said, the quarry. You know, I have been in this township for a few years, which I thought was a really nasty comment. But this was before the book throwing, just so you know. Anyway, I said, well, how did it get there? And she said, by truck. And truly, you all know me. I knew for real that Leo had hauled the stuff because he had a list of people who he's been hauling rock to, collecting money. I don't know if it's in the checkbook because I'm not allowed to see the checkbook or any checks that are written. And so after Lisa and I spoke a few more times, then finally Leo said, I gave her the rock. And it was like, oh, now we're gonna go there. And so when he threw me his paper to tell me who he had hauled rock for, not given rock to, Lisa's name was not on there. There were 3 Boldridges, there were 2 services, Peggy Roper. I myself have asked for rock 5 times for our road. And then so that night I said, will you bring rock to our house? And he said, yes, but you have to pay for it. I said, okay, I'll pay for it when Lisa pays for her because her name was not on that list. And I know that's a little petty. Okay, it's a lot petty. But I just decided. So Lisa got mad, threw a couple of things, walked out the door. And then Leo, sorry, 2 L names, started saying stuff and how Greg had never hauled rock to people, and he knew it because those people told him, and it was like, I'm not going backwards in time, because yes, Greg was the township trustee for a few years, like 20, but who's counting? And I still don't have rock, just so y'all know, and it's been over a week that I've waited for my rock for my house, because we want some for our driveway.
So this is personal driveway issues.
Right, but he hauled it to everybody else. I mean, because
right.
I recall when he was going to call the sheriff to have Mr. McConaughey ejected from his premises, he said, okay. He said, then we'll just go to court. He said, and that'll cost you a lot more money, because he was not being compliant, because he lives on 234th Road, which according to the Atchison County map right out there on the wall we were looking, that is still part of a county road that he lives on, even though he's the only house on it. The road that Mr. Boldridge lives on, there are 3 houses on it, but he says that it's not a county road. It's in the county, and Mr. Boldridge had asked, and this is Dwayne Boldridge, had asked, well, so then if I don't pay my taxes, because I'm not getting anything out of the township, what then? And so everything was just it's hard to refrain from saying words I shouldn't say in public. But anyway, so he told me to get out of his house, and so I did. So I had also asked earlier on if we could have a neutral spot for meetings. And his wife, in all this bull, his wife said, well, you were looking at me through the whole meeting. She was sitting in another room, and I happened to just be looking. And I have looked at Kaylee once since I've been here, I know that. And I have looked at Michelle too since she walked in, but you know, doesn't everybody look around when they're in a meeting room? I mean, I think this is great. You guys have done wonderful out here. Whoever's responsible, thank you. But anyway, I just wanted to plead my case. It wasn't like I said, it could have been a big thing, but it really wasn't. It was this little tiny thing that might have, I'll even go 30 pieces of paper in here. So, but he said, you hit me in the head. And I'm sure his wife encouraged him to get involved, because she's only been to 2 meetings that I know of, and that was to receive her $1,800 for her storage of equipment, because I could have done that when Greg was township trustee. Doesn't matter, it all goes in our checking account, but whatever, because that was Leo's advice to me. End of story. But I'm not going back to Leo's house, just so y'all know. I promise.
We really don't have any jurisdiction
I
in
know,
townships.
I
but-
just found that out.
Yeah.
Truly.
But it sounds to me like a neutral site would be most beneficial. That way you don't have any of that yours, mine, or,
Right. I got you there.
ours type thing. I know Dad was on township board for 16 years, so I know a little bit about townships.
I know
and-
you do. The next night, I did get called from my neighbor, because my neighbor knows I'm on the township, and I will share my phone with all of you. This is his truck going over the side of the road on River Road
Just north of
that
219.
has no rock. And you can flip, I think, towards Michelle and see others. And you can do it again. He actually jackknifed a tractor, his son's truck, a trailer with cows and calves in it. And I did take pictures of the road where all you can see is mud. I came out of my shoes, so I said, time for Dee Dee to get back in the truck, because he was very upset because he had called Leo. We did see Leo on another road, but he did not go down to River Road to see the true mess. Just saying.
He went down, turned around, came back, he didn't want to go
Because
down there.
he moved over so we didn't get any mud on his truck.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And really, Bob could have gone over the hill. I mean, in one of those pictures, you can see the 2 railroad tracks.
Yeah, if he'd have been going down
He
the
was,
hill.
he was saved by a tree the size of this part of my leg. honest to God.
From going on
The
over.
tree on the
Yes.
left side of the truck. holding
And
the
I mean,
truck.
it was holding him.
Yeah.
And when we got down there, when he called, I told Greg, I said, we gotta go. I said, but you gotta drive. Cause it's like, mine doesn't go into four-wheel drive. We'd be taking your stuff. So,
Interesting, yeah.
yeah, I would like to also show. Oh, that's the dark time. You don't care about the dark time.
What I don't understand is the taxes,
See? And then there's
Go
the
to the
railroad
state.
tracks.
and then the
This
state
little bitty
reimburse
thing right
you-
here.
refurbish
is the
that
tree.
money back to the counties, and the counties
Just-
distribute it to the townships, and what they get.
Michelle's the source on that answer. What's
No, most taxes are paid to our county treasurer, and she puts all the taxes into
Right.
the proper funds.
Yeah, but
And
it
then
has to
she
go to
does,
To people.
none, ours does not.
Sales tax
Sales
does,
tax.
not
Okay.
property tax.
She,
What I don't understand is then the county distributes money to the townships 2 or 3 times a year.
Yes, as that funds come in,
And there's the railroad
Michelle
tax.
actually sends them, yeah.
So my thinking is that the county should kind of oversee these townships a little
You
bit
can
to
look
make
big.
sure
It's just a
that
muddy
the
road.
money is being properly used and the roads are being taken care of.
Well, it'd
But
be like,
there's nobody that can tell the townships, hey, you need to do this, you're not doing this, blah, blah, blah. They're kind of like, well, I do whatever I want.
well, there's laws dealing with the elected officials of those, but, you know, again, we also collect money for school districts, and we don't oversee school districts. And,
Correct.
you know, there would be no end to who, anyone under there that we would be,
Well, we didn't know, but
yeah.
when cause I really did call Michelle's office at least 3 times. Finally, somebody did pick up the phone up there and told me Michelle was in a meeting, and I said, okay. And then I looked at the clock and it was later in the morning is all I can tell you. I don't recall the time. But I have them all in my phone, but it doesn't matter. But to see if I could get on to talk, but I'm glad it was 2 weeks later, cause it was like, just calm down. It's just,
My kind of thinking is, there ought to be somebody that can ride the Atchison County roads to look at stuff and say like, hey, Joe Snyder, you know, you need to kind of do something, or Dolores Service, you need to do something, or Leo. Cause I can take you around a lot of roads, and I'll tell you what, they're a mess.
you can't put minimum maintenance signs up on everything.
yeah.
You know, I was in for 20 years, and for 18 of those years, I was telling them just east of Corpstein's, county needs to do something to that road. Cause it's their road to where the gravel starts.
Oh, I think that's on the list.
That's on the list.
He said they're coming that way.
Good.
I noticed they trimmed the trees.
Joe Snyder's been in here quite a bit. We talk about master road plan. There's a lot of things on that list, and that's one place we're gonna be working with that new paver and trying some things down there.
Yeah.
So-
So I tried to tell them for years, no, that road used to go there and turn to go to Ernstons was the highway. Cause a lot of
Right.
people were killed right there on that turn. I don't know if you remember Red Morris years ago, worked for KP&L, he was killed there. Bobby Strong had a wreck down there. I mean, it was a bad road, and back then you could run 65, 70 miles an hour, they didn't care. They
Yeah.
old- big
Still
old
do.
cars.
Faster the better.
Yeah, they still do.
To your point about the needs all over the county with the roads, Road and Bridge has a process in place where we field phone calls as commissioners all the time. And
Right.
our first thing is, have you called Joe or called the office? Because they have a log and they document the time and the date and the road and the complaint and the person. And then, like, at the end of last year, they came back to us with, 83 were taken care of, and you can see from the date of the complaint to the date it was taken care of. I mean, it was shocking to me. They got it within like a couple days. Like,
Right.
it's pretty awesome, but they document all of it. And then we will, on occasion, have people that don't wanna call out there. They just wanna tell us, which in turn then we pass that on for their log.
Right.
So there's a process of,
Good.
and that's one of the things, Michelle and I had talked to Leo last week, and suggested, logs, when people have roads, then you have proof that you're doing, Dee called this day and wants this, then there's,
Right.
but again, we can't tell
I
a
know.
township
I know.
anything. We're just trying to give
Assist.
suggestions on
Yes.
what's working for us that seems to
There you
feel
go.
good and help.
Our employees, when they are graveling a mile of road, you know, they're putting down that it got so much ton of rock at such and such a time, you know, and what kind of type of rock it was. So
They're
we
not
do
doing
have
that.
something to go back on and say, well, I haven't got rock for 3 years. Oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
Yeah.
Well,
Here.
you know, another thing, when you have a disaster and you've got all that documented, that helps you, that's what they wanna see now. They don't wanna say, well, so-and-so, where's the proof?
CYA.
And
Yeah.
as far as Joe, I think Joe's done a tremendous job since he's got in there.
Thank
I
you.
mean, he's taken care of a
He
lot of
really-
stuff.
Yeah.
And he took a lot of pressure on his back when he went in there.
Yeah. So,
What's the number on
thank
that
you.
road you're talking about, by Corpus Dune? What is that?
218.
What was the one you said that you didn't know if it was township or county? 234th? Was that the road clarification you wanted?
Yep.
Because with our upcoming township meeting, that's one of the things we do that evening is make sure we give the maps and everybody highlights which ones they're.
Well, it's on there.
Yeah, it's on there.
Well, I was gonna say
234's on that list right there.
234th is, but Dwayne's is marked as the old highway, and of course, that's what we call it also,
Yeah.
whatever,
Right.
Sherman Road.
Yep.
But there are 3 houses there, so why is that not considered a road when there are 3 houses?
And then
Because Leo kept saying, no, it's not a road, it's not a road. Well, yeah, it is. You gotta drive down it to get to their house.
Unless it's a private drive.
It is not a private drive though, not with 3 houses.
It can be.
Well, that's not what determines
Well, yeah,
whether
there's-
it's private or not. What determines whether it's a road is whether there's an
A plat.
order from the Board of County Commissioners at some point opening it as a road. And many of those, most of those were done in the 1880s or 90s. And if there wasn't one on this one, then it could just be a private drive.
Okay.
And you can have a private drive, there's no length limit. I mean, it can be
Well, I was gonna
miles
say, I
long.
do know the one house between the one on the highway and back down here where Dwayne is, the one in between has been built since his has. So maybe you all could check into it that it could become a road
Yeah.
or something.
Well, it isn't up to the Board of County Commissioners to
Okay.
just go out and pick things out that should be roads. Someone,
Okay.
if somebody wants it to be a road, they need to file a petition
Okay,
with the Board of County Commissioners to have it.
okay.
made
Well,
it-
truly,
made it
I
a
did
road.
try to get Dwayne to come today, but he didn't want to because of the other mess. Cause he was my other person at Leo's house that night.
'Cause you know where the 3 Bowditches live?
Yeah.
Norman and Marvin and Calvin?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
could be considered the same thing. That ain't a road, but it's always been a road. But they could say, no, that's not a road,
I
private
was gonna
drive.
say,
Well,
cause I,
it's not a road unless it's been platted as one.
Yeah,
So, and
I'm
it,
pretty sure it's been platted, but
well, I was gonna say, I brought my map.
I ran into a lot of that with
I love
Marvin.
my map.
They trimmed a tree fence.
Can't
line.
see without the
Well, that's
glasses, but I
township.
love my
No, it
map.
ain't. Well, there used to be was gonna be a road. I said, yeah, back in maybe in 1865 when Sumner was gonna get the county seat.
Now, are they in the north or the south part? Bouldridges. Mr. Bouldridge.
That'd be in the
South.
south.
You're gonna find, no, you don't have glasses on either. Well,
But no,
I would think it would be in the
they
north
need a
part.
neutral site.
that's
Where
me too.
Calvin is?
Yeah,
Dee, one thing I would like to comment on too is, I think, I hope you guys are being cautious with your Open Records Act. So if somebody wants to see your notes, your minutes, if somebody wants to see his record, whoever.
but again, like I
That
said,
needs to be open to the public, because that
It is.
could get you in a lot of trouble.
well, but
So-
see, he won't, I have not seen, Lisa used to make these
That
things.
could probably better address the process on
Yeah.
that. If somebody doesn't get what they need or Michelle.
You know, I think, maybe we want to put in on the meeting, a Open Records, Open Meetings Act primer. I think we've done that at just about every meeting, but maybe if we had might be a good time to do a little bit of
Yep.
re-educating about it.
Well, I was gonna say, Lisa used to make these instead of using the books that we got when Greg very first got in. And it had detailed stuff. This one starts March 21st. We meet every month, the 3rd Monday of the month, unless Lisa was having a bad day, whatever. Now, I did tell him one time, I had been in the hospital for a month. And the next time was, and I said, I don't wanna be around people right now. I was in the hospital for a week, I mean, not a month, but for a week with influenza. I'd had my flu shot, I'd had all my COVID shots. Where in the heck did I get that? And you have to be isolated, and there I was in the last room waving at people that I didn't know you could see me. I waved at you. And they could see me too, I didn't know that. Anyway, but this has only got like March, June, September, and October on it.
Check the top of that, just for curiosity's sake, is that the receipts?
This is general fund expenditures.
Oh, if that's
Yeah.
Well,
expenditures?
it's got the road in there. and
Yeah, I was
stuff.
gonna say, there are other sheets, but it's
Because
not a full sheet,
I-
that's what I'm saying.
I know when we do distributions, and we do those in March and June, September, October, and December, I believe. But yeah, if it says expenditures on it, then that's,
She started out bringing them every month meeting from the last month, it'd be print out like that, every month. She's done 4 of them in 2 years.
I know she brought me one when she brought me the letter that said she was going to resign.
Yes.
In the letter that she brought me, it said that she would stay on until we had a replacement. But she had that for the full year, but she was going to make a couple corrections and then give it back to me, but I have not received it back.
Well, and then this is how I found out that Leo had a bank card. I mean, Greg was a township trustee for a couple of years now, I'm telling you, you know, as y'all probably know. But it was like, card? He said, yeah, I got a card. Like my debit card? You got a debit card from the bank? So he can just go over, cause it's listed in here somewhere, where he went to Rushville Liquor Mart /gas. Should get you some liquor while you were there? Cause I'm sorry, why doesn't it say gas station? And, but I understand he put out the whole name, or she did, cause he didn't, but it's like, that does not look good. If somebody from my township comes and wants to see it, I guarantee you there'll at least be 5 people that'll say, what the hell did he do there? And I went,
Would that be overkill if she had a Freedom of Open Records Act to see all of the checks and everything, is it?
No,
The debit
but,
card, they don't send you nothing.
more
They'll send you a
than,
bank statement.
more than that, you're supposed to have, every township is supposed to have your quarterly audit. And at your monthly meetings, the bills should be, well, if they're not being circulated for you all to look at, you need to ask to see them.
well,
And don't approve them, because all 3 of you are signing off on the expenditure of those funds and approval of it, so.
but then when there are 3 and 2 say yes, and the Wildcat sitting next to you might have said no,
Make sure that your vote gets recorded as a no,
But
as a no.
it still passes, cause 2 to 3.
Sure.
Nothing.
But if you're not seeing it, I think you could still file a.
Because he's buying a new something, and I truly can't tell you what it is.
Well, you know, I've heard,
I know you've heard, I know you've been to one.
well, yeah, I've been to several, I think I've only been to one of
ours, yeah.
Walnut. You know, but the discussions we're hearing about, there's a policy, and this is the way we've always done it, and it doesn't seem like any of this stuff is written down. It doesn't really seem that much of it has been approved by the board. And those would sure be suggestions that you adopt a resolution that determines how much are people being paid that are on the township board, and there's a statute on that. Well, instead of doing this nonsense where you say, well, we're gonna pay $1,800 to store stuff, but we're only gonna store it at a board member's place, you know, and that may not even be reflected in any minutes anywhere. That's really the key, is that this governing body discusses things and makes decisions, and that they record the decisions, and that they're consistent. And if you've got something where we'll deliver rock to a private person and you don't have a policy on it, then I think that's just an invitation for trouble. Because someone's going to say that somebody got rock for free and another person asked for rock and they didn't give it, and I think that's just inviting problems. So I would urge you to get all of those policies into, you know, some format that they're approved by a vote of the commissioners that you, or the trustees.
Oh, dang, you said
the
commissioners, I
board?
was jumping.
It isn't the Board of County Commissioners, they don't have any authority to do it.
I know,
And I say the trustees, it's the township governing body.
okay.
But there really isn't, but I think those would solve the problems. There isn't anything that this Board of County Commissioners can do.
Right.
Annually, you're supposed to submit a report, and the Board of County Commissioners is to review it and approve it, and I suppose they could not approve it, but there's no penalty for not approving it.
Right. Well, I was gonna say, I do know we meet with Michelle, who's always been kind, and,
Yes, she is.
you know, whoever does these maps, I know that I get it for free, but they spell Atchison County right in all of them except at Walnut Township, and then we're Atchison, and I hate that. And we are. We're always Atchison, no matter where it comes from.
Princeton Hutch, they would say that they could say Hutchinson, they say
Are you going to the township meeting?
Just to give clarity to
Are
them
you gonna
on,
speak
so
about not
when
doing
he
the
had mentioned the
budgets this
3
year?
families' names in the road, I have it pulled up, and that road is not designated county or township on our map.
So why
And
do they have to pay
so,
taxes?
should they have the authority then to get together as a township and come to the board and ask it to be designated a township road, or?
I think the land, are you talking about the Bouldridge's property?
Yeah, yep, so here's 244th, and then there's the road, and it's not designated either way.
Yeah, that means it's a private drive as far as we know, and
So, but if there's question of it should be a township road, then the township could come to us and ask us to designate it a township.
Or the landowners.
landowners need
Okay.
to
Okay.
petition for it.
Okay.
And just the FYI, there's more than one Bouldridge on that road.
No, and those are the 3 that are right there that Greg mentioned. So that's what I use this point of reference.
Right.
And 244th is township showing in Sherman down, but where they live, it's white and unallocated, so it's a private.
Okay.
So I just wanna help them. If
I understand.
they feel like it should be a township road, then the landowners would do a petition.
Because I was gonna say, I personally will go and knock on Mrs. Bouldridge's door because she is one of those Bouldridges that, maybe the last Bouldridge on the road that I mentioned both names of, don't get along real well. But, you know, but the in-between person, I don't know who that was. Somebody told me one time it was a brothel, so I don't know. I'm kinda scared to knock on the door, but I would. Cause I don't know who lives there, truly, I don't. But, you know, I came in here in a dirty jacket, so what do y'all know that I know? I don't know how to wash it.
That's the road.
I'm sorry.
I think that's what we were all thinking.
I looked at it and said, oh, but that's what happens when you live in the country.
Just happened when you got out of the car.
Oh, yeah, right.
Do those families want it to be a township road?
Well, I'm not sure about the other two, because like I said, Elaine and that aunt don't get along. And like I said, I do not know who lives in between. But it was supposed to be like a retreat house. So it was like a retreat house. And that's when the rumor got around that it was the other thing. And I don't know, I don't care, I don't live there, but I do want to have rock.
Yeah, no, I
I
wanna
go down
help.
there, way out.
And
like
no
I
wonder
said-
if they're not getting taken care of, because they're not allocated either way, county
Right.
or township.
All right, okay. Well, thank you all very much for listening to me. I really didn't mean to hit him, and I could get both my kids in here to testify. She's throwing stuff at us all of our life and she can't hit us. So I went to a water and I can hit you with that. Right between the eyes, that's great. He's got it more than once. And so did one of Alex's friends. He said, you can't do that to me. I said, I can't do what?
Greg probably deserved it for
Oh,
sure.
yeah, I got a big bottle for him. The kids, I got little bottles, so, but no.
Mom always used a fly swatter on that. One of the old metal handled ones. Sometimes the plastic would come off and just use the wire.
Those would sting, yeah.
Yeah, kind of leave that
Thank
little
you all very
diamond print
much. I
on the
feel so
handle,
much better.
leave it on your shoulders.
I will ask who the middle person's house is. Okay.
And, although we don't have any authority over townships.
Right.
Leo did ask Michelle and I to come to your next meeting, so we put it on the calendar and we're gonna try, and it was to be determined where it was gonna be.
Correct.
We suggested to get a hold of the fire department, and then St. Patrick's School was right on the line. The cemetery was Mount Pleasant with the church and the school. So he was going back to do his due diligence to figure out where they were gonna meet and let us know.
Well,
That's how,
That's what,
The
yeah,
fire
that's how I
department,
understood
I
it.
spoke to a fireman and he said, no, they only have 4 chairs. If he wants the church, from being a church member, they have to pay for it.
yes.
And then somebody said maybe Exchange Bank, and I said, wouldn't they have to pay for that too? I mean, I'm just
So
saying.
you're not gonna hold it in the township then? Cause that was my understanding, they wanted to find a place
Well, they
within the
can't.
township.
I don't let them do it at the firehouse.
Well, it wouldn't have to be there. I think anything as
Well,
long as
that's-
it's convenient for and acceptable to all involved and be published. You need to publish that when so the constituents can show up if they want to.
Well, and see,
The water
I
board does their meetings at Exchange Bank.
I
Or
Yeah,
the
we were
told
library,
Leo
anywhere.
that
There's so
people
many
didn't even
places.
know he was the township trustee. And he said, yes, they do. And I said, and this was at another time, and he said, no, they don't. He said, all they have to do is ask somebody. I said, well, we had to run an ad in the paper when Greg got it, after Dave Tull had had it for many years. Give his phone number, and we also gave Dick's phone number, and he was the road man who would deliver your rock. He just called Greg and say, hey, you know, Betty needs rock on her road up on
Oh, yeah.
whatever. But I will tell you who has gotten rock more than once, and that'd be Karen Seberg, and I'm so happy she's got rock.
There ain't no
I
rock
bet
on
you
the
know I'm
road.
not telling the truth now. But she's got it at least 3 times this year. This is March. 3
She
times.
gets that one little strip.
I'm gonna use the restroom real quick.
Her and Mary Jane, but I didn't say that, but I might.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Hope to see you at the township
Did you
meeting.
dye
You
your
will.
hair again?
Yep.
I thought you did.
Greg's always worried about women's hair, just because his doesn't have any.
Got more than I do.
Rough crowd, I tell you.
Oh, well,
Thank you guys
It's
for your
just-
time.
something there. Thank you all very much, very much.
We lost our leadership.
Restroom break.
I don't see that there's any limitation that they have to meet within the township.
I don't think there is.
That'd be helpful because it's thin out there. A couple towns is probably kind of thin to find.
It'd be really hard on some of them.
Sure, if you meet in a church basement or building, they're gonna have somebody say separation of church and state or something.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's a problem, because they've used a lot of church buildings
Yeah.
before.
It's that, yeah, some people can be,
Where does the polling place now for them?
It is combined with Mount Pleasant, and it's the Faith Bible Fellowship, which is right south of Walmart.
The corner of
Oh, that would
262.
be within the, yeah, that would be a good place too. I don't know if they would charge, but for their meetings.
That would be a good spot.
Pastor Lucas is pretty easy going. They probably should ask.
Yeah.
That would be a good compromise place.
Kind of a
And that's
neutral.
kind of, especially since that's where they go to vote. People are familiar with it, or ought to be.
Right.
Those web maps that Roger has for us are so helpful. Like, to be able to nail down and exactly see what it is.
I came down this road, Greg showed me, I was going to the wrong road, so I got the right road now.
Well, and I wonder, you have that email still, right, from Roger that gave us all of those maps? That is, if you don't have that, I should forward it to you so you have it, because he splits it out for us, and it gives,
I've looked at that map with him, but I don't.
yeah, they have road and bridge reference, tax sale, appraisals, ownership, voter districts, and EMS 911, and then census. I'm going to,
I think, are those on our website though? Is there a link to those?
I would hope so.
I don't
but
remember
it's just
seeing those
easier.
maps on there.
I think there's a.
If you're gonna send it to him, resend it to me too.
Yeah, I'll just
'cause-
forward it to all of us right now so that you
Commissioners,
That's
guys,
fine.
because I use this all the time. It's just really helpful. For me. Okay. Older unfinished business, county counselor updates.
Okay, I do have a couple of things. Before the meeting, I was given a letter that was sent to the Board of County Commissioners by Kansas Department of Health and Environment regarding a proposed Kansas water pollution control permit. Those are notices sent to the county, and the county has the ability, if you want to send a comment on the application to the Department of Health and Environment that they would consider before they rule on it. And it has the specifics on here. There's a deadline at April 12th, maybe. Persons wishing to comment on or object to the draft documents and/or permit applications must submit their comments in writing to the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. If they wish to have the comments or objections considered in the decision-making process, it gives a deadline of April 22nd, 2023. We have not in the past done anything other than look at these, and the Kansas Department of Health and Environment does not ask the Board of County Commissioners for approval or permission. It's simply that if you wish to comment on it. So I wasn't aware of this one until I got to the meeting today. I don't know much about the application, but if just really kind of to explain what the process has been, and if you want to change that, you need to discuss how you want to change it. So this particular one looks like it's a quarry, and it's washing rock, what they do with the water that they use to wash crushed gravel, I think. But that's all I could really tell from the summary that was sent here.
Okay, I don't have anything, because I mean, most of that, I mean, it's being taken care of, you know, with, I usually look through there to see if there's, but I have never seen one that I really wish to go further for.
And that letter, I didn't read it either, but it's just to, basically is an FYI that that it's happening.
Ongoing process.
Not like that there is a problem or.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
and I don't think there is a problem.
Perfect, yeah. No, I would, just wanna support them if there was, but, yeah, if it's just more of an FYI.
Yeah, I think that's what it sounds like to me.
Okay. Abstracting services. We had a submission, an RFP that we mailed out to get interested vendors to respond so that we could see if we're getting the best bang for the buck, I guess. We sent out 13. So I could read off who they were, but it was every title company that I found online or in there's a blue book of the lawyer's address book, phone book, I guess. So all of them that advertised in Atchison County, Donovan County, Brown, Jefferson, Jackson, or Leavenworth. And so there were 13 of those. The only one in Atchison County was O'Keefe Wilson Abstracting Company. So,
Do you want me to open it?
please.
Okay. We only received the one bid from O'Keefe Wilson Abstracting Company Incorporated. Carefully examined, they're saying $125 per title report.
Okay.
With a length of time needed to complete the work is 30 days.
Wow, okay, that's really quick. if you want my recommendation, I don't feel a need to go review anything. That's the vendor we've used for years, and I've been very happy with them, so.
Is that similar to the previous cost?
Previously, it was $120 back in 2021,
Okay.
so it's gone up $5.
All right, based on the recommendation from our county counselor, I look for a motion to contract the title services for judicial foreclosure of delinquent tax liens on real property to O'Keefe Wilson Abstracting Company Incorporated for the amount of $125 per title report and the link needed for 30 days, to complete the work 30 days. Do I have a motion to approve?
So,
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0. Put that in this folder.
Does that need to be signed by us? Or?
No.
No,
I
we
just thought-
will prepare a contract and
Oh, okay.
have it soon. I think we estimated that there would be 80 parcels.
And thank you for sending that RFP out. We've done our due diligence to check and always appreciate working with a local. So, thank you.
I'm gonna go back to the question on maps. If you go on our website under Document Center, and then you hit maps, then the whole list of maps you were talking about's right there.
Awesome.
I thought I saw one there somewhere.
Okay. We had a little bit of a discussion last time about grants. And we also had, Amberwell had been up and talked about being a partner with them on a rural hospital innovation grant. And so I guess I'm needing we need to determine what our policy is and what you want to do to, I think that grant application by Amberwell is fairly well ready to be submitted. But what do you want to do in terms of approving those and what specific standards? We also had questions related to, in filling out these and other grant applications, there's a question about how many grants are we currently administering, and how many have we had in prior years. And looking at the current ones is pretty easy to find, but looking at prior years isn't always, kind of relying on memory. We don't have a centralized place or a centralized reporting person for those to go to. We had some talk about the financial officer being that person, but we don't have one now. So, guidance.
So looking at the two examples that you sent with Pratt County's receipt policy and form, I guess just basically from my understanding of the clerk would be the person keeping track of how many that we have out, but there wasn't necessarily a maximum. The questions that we've always asked is, the county match, if there's any money that we have to. So I'm gonna use the Abbeys, for example, because to me there was no match required by us. They were writing it, all of the things, and that was pretty similar to what Amberwell was pitching to us too. They handle it all. The reporting piece is what we would have to handle if we hit a certain threshold. So I think we would just want to have a conversation with the clerk to say what kind of resource, because I don't feel comfortable today making the decision without talking to you, because it's like, oh, that sounds great, but then it adds more reporting to your lap, like understanding who and how and all the details of it. And I know you're seeking an answer, and I apologize, I should have been prepared and had that conversation with her before today. I just want to make sure, because again, going to local grants, people writing grants for Atchison County is great. The more money we can bring into our local hospital or the Abbey for, all of it, is great, and as long as it's not hindering us on any piece, and, you know, we're confident we have people in place to handle what we are signing up for and partnering with that.
But we have to keep in mind too, that some of this is legislative driven, so they're writing this in Topeka saying that you've got to use the county or the city in some cases for your grant administration or as a third party, so it's hard to say no, because that's the only option they've got, but at the same time, I like the fact they're willing to pay the cost of keeping you up to date and reporting, but we also have our own grants we have to follow through K.S.A or whoever. And so there's different kinds of grants we're dealing with.
The COPS grants we have to deal with, there's an LAFSP or something, I mean, it's one that we got some money on, which we've done the reporting for. So I mean, I have just a handful of grants that have been passed down from Mark. And that doesn't include a lot of your road and bridge ones, the EMPG grant, which is the Emergency Management Program grant.
So are some grants like Road and Bridge, they just handle that all in-house and you always see it? Or do you see those things as well?
I see those through you guys basically when I get some of those.
So
I know
that's just
actually,
it, so.
I'm not actually a physical part of that. A lot of those are match grants, or a certain percentage, 80-20.
I don't know if it's just me, but I would like for, if we do say it's the clerk, that they would have eyes on that, because if we have staff change, things like that, and someone new comes in, or that's probably not the first thing that they're gonna look at. And if there's one due, or there's reporting due, and even if it would just be as an alert process, I think that would be a second set of eyes on that. And I mean, to me, it seems like the clerk's office, but I'd hate to say that or make that motion until I don't know how much more work that each one of these, or is there a lot of difference from grant to grant, how much work that causes for you?
It depends upon if it's a state grant or a federal grant.
Yeah, you know, I don't know how that manifests itself in your office, but I mean, just looking at it, it looks like the place it should most likely be.
And I think a lot of the ones that, like Mark had his hand in getting, have been maintained in our office. So.
I like the example that you sent us from Pratt County, just like the 1 through 13 and the check boxes. It's easy to understand of what it is, and then you would be able to compile and kind of have the list of, because I think it would be interesting for us to sit down sometime and go just have a brief overview of all grants that we're involved in, just so, you know, we understand what it is. And this looks easy to, I mean, type of grant, amount of grant, you know, who's administering it. I just think it's easy to.
When did that come in? I don't remember seeing any of those.
I emailed that.
March 23rd.
Which maybe, I mean, in your email, there's not an explicit written policy, so maybe you think we need to add to the form and have some type of a written policy.
Well, what I meant is there's not a policy with Pratt County that explicitly says all grants have to be approved by the county commission, or states what the criteria you'll use for that are.
But if we're
just those sorts of things, but I mean, there's sort of a policy that's implied in it. You're asking for the information, there must be a reason why you want it, so. I think it's probably one of those things that after you get stung on something, or that you spend a lot of time looking something up, that you say, we ought to have this in our policy so that it's easier to gather the information.
Well, and especially to Eric's point of having the clerk be involved in what's happening countywide, like having something written down so that.
Well, I know it's a Pratt County process too. They've got one is that they're letting us know you're gonna apply for a grant, and then they've got the ones you can get the grant, you can fill out. So would this apply to elected as well? mean, how much do
Well-
you deal with on that?
You know, we've, if you're asking what happens if an elected official doesn't follow it, I don't know. But I wouldn't necessarily think that they wouldn't. There are good reasons why the Board of County Commissioners needs to know what grants are being applied for, because they can impact, and are being received, because they can impact your responsibilities. For example, the single audit that we've talked about. But also because other grant applications ask the questions, if you're not aware of them, then you're potentially submitting inaccurate information, and that could either asking somebody that's given you a grant, asking to claw it back because you lied to us, or deciding that we don't want to do business with Atchison County because they're sloppy. So I would think the elected officials would be on board with at least reporting. You're not necessarily asking for permission
Right,
unless.
that's how I read there. The first part is more like more of a notification, they were doing this. So it's not like you're asking permission, so.
And we also haven't really talked about, there are some grants, I think, that have to do with hiring somebody. Like, we'll hire somebody for the first 3 years or the first year, but then after that, it's going to become a county responsibility. And you know, those things are budgetary things that you need to talk about, that this is something we're willing to fund, or at least wait and see if we're going to. Because you have to make your budget decisions pretty early in the year, that you don't always have a whole year of looking at something to decide whether it's worthwhile. You're going to be making your budget decisions starting in the next month or two, so.
Is there something in the electronic world that when you get a new grant and to oversee it, that you can plug in, and so you're getting an alert like this grant, you need to have reporting done, or it needs to be done by March 3rd?
I put it on my calendar.
And it's
for
just on
yearly
your
reminder.
own personal
And it
calendar?
pops up. I have an office calendar that all
Okay.
of us get to see.
Okay, I thought, that seems like it would be the logical thing, or that, because that's not the first thing on,
Right.
on someone's agenda, but I mean, if you've got an alert system like that, I
I
think that
alert
would work.
myself like well over a month, because sometimes it takes a minute to get the reports done. So, but I know the nursing home has a lot of reporting to do as well, but I don't think a lot of theirs are grant related.
Mm-hmm.
But there's deadlines on a lot of that. So
What do we want to tell Amberwell? Do we want to put it on the agenda for next week? Their proposal?
Well, so I walked away from last week thinking the same thing of like, if Amberwell answers those same questions that we did with Abby, why wouldn't we want to do, to partner with them to run the grant? Because there's no match, it doesn't hinder anything to do with us, other than we're basically just the catalyst to let them apply, so.
Theirs does have a match. It's it's over $1 million, but they're paying.
Yeah, not for,
Yeah,
sorry,
right.
yeah, not for us to pay any of their match, so. So do we need to kind of formalize ourselves next week and then the following week? Because I remember he said it wasn't a rush, but I do want to follow up with them, but at least we could have our ducks in a row as far as what grants we have out there, and kind of have a process in place, and then go into his meeting and say, supportive as well, based on these sheets.
right.
I like the Pratt County ones that you sent us. I don't know.
Yeah, I did too.
If we want to tailor those just to Atchison and,
Well, it does address the elected separately in there, I forgot that, I read this when you said it, but it actually talks about the elected officials, how they do theirs versus a department head, so you go to their first one, so I think I like the way this is working.
I did too.
Okay?
And
Is there any
then,
additional questions or things on there, Michelle, you think you need?
No, because it's got like the cash match, other than federal or state, what type of grant as far as
on the receipt policy form, number 3, it has federal, state, or private.
Okay, I'm on the wrong one.
But no, I like that, the grant, it, you know, is the non-cash match required from the county? And then
Okay, very perfect, yeah.
But I think both of those together, I mean, that covers a lot of what we need to know.
Yeah, I'd be fine with those. Just-
Yeah, I think it looks good.
And I think that will help us stay consistent too, of regardless of who's in front of us, they're giving us the same form and we know, you know, how to take from it what we need to make a good decision.
And then Michelle, would you set up a tracking sheet in Excel
Yes.
or something?
Yes, definitely.
And maybe we could retroactively just fill in the blanks of all the ones that are out there now. so we-
Yes. One thing though, like as far as the grant reporting, as far as, responsible party for reporting. I mean, if it's something like Road and Bridge basically would be doing the reporting for some of their grants because some of the, most of the numbers are gonna come from Road and Bridge. So like if it's within the clerk's
Yeah.
office, just kind of like,
It doesn't say on the form who's going to do the reporting.
right,
We need to probably add that line.
yeah.
Because like the hospital said they would take care of the reporting.
Mm-hmm.
So we probably need to add that line.
Right, right. Mhm.
And their contact information, so it's all there together.
Right.
So it's,
And again, whoever that entity is, whether it's one of our other departments or an outside entity doing the reporting, is you should probably be included in that, just so you know. I mean, because
Right.
it's easy for me to tell you I'm gonna do it, and then if I forget, like, it's still against
Right.
our names on it, so making
Right.
sure you're in the know that, okay, it was completed.
Right, and just basically carbon, if it's an outside entity or even the other department, just kind of to carbon the clerk's office with the reporting information.
Yeah.
I see one more thing, so
What's that?
Please, yeah.
Pat mentioned the match is paid by the hospital in our case. So on number 7, it says how much grant be paid. It doesn't have any place for a third party, except that they're paying it.
So,
And so we may need to put some kind of a note, a question or a line about who's responsible for paying any grant matching funds. In the case that somebody's not part of the county, we need to have that right on there.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. I wonder if we should have some agreement with them indemnifying us, that if they're gonna take care of it, that they're gonna assure us that they're gonna do it right,
Yeah.
fix the problem, so.
well, and on that grant application, number 5, it asks if the cash match is required from county funds, and yes or no, and then if the cash match is required, so at that point, if we just wanna,
Okay, the form.
yeah,
The forms need to be consistent.
yeah,
Yeah, I think with both forms,
Yeah.
you've got the questions you need, but it may be on one and not the other,
yeah.
so.
Okay. Oh, that's weird. That's looking at the form of these. So,
One's basically for the application and the other one's for the grant receipt.
say. She'll do, Pat, want to analyze these just a little more and tweak them a little bit and have them ready for next week, or?
I think, basically on that receipt policy, it would be something simple to, as long as we have the information of who has the grants, then we can have them update this on a yearly basis before the audit comes in. Because I think when the auditors come in, they're gonna want that information, verify that information that we have is correct.
I think it'd look good for the auditors to see that we've got a uniform policy that's
Yeah.
dealing with them.
I agree.
Yeah, we should probably have a discussion with the auditor about if there's anything else they wanna see on the
Right.
form, so.
And
Good
they
point.
will be in-house in April, the auditors. I'm thinking it is
Sorry, did we wrap?
Well, so for Amberwell, do we want to put them on the agenda for next week or 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, can we put them on April 11th, and then next week we'll do our grant policy and grant application, like, have it tailored to ours, and then go over the summary of all grants? Is that okay?
It is for me.
Is that okay with you, Alan?
Yep.
Is that okay with you, Michelle? Okay. You good, Pat, with that?
Uh-huh.
So when we go over these, are we just gonna discuss just the bare bones? This is road and bridge, this is for X, Y, Z. We're not gonna expect road and bridge to be there.
No. Should Michelle
We're not
can-
getting into
No,
that.
yeah, Michelle can go through the list with
Yeah,
us.
okay. I just wanted to know how in-depth. Yeah.
Theirs are maybe a little different because we always have an outside engineer that's involved on those, the rural road bridge project grants, and so but they should be part of the same thing, but there's always somebody, there's a professional involved that's familiar with doing it there, so.
And if it's on the agenda, then the department heads can see it, and then if they know of one that's not on the list, then they can get a hold of Michelle and say, hey, I got this one I forgot to tell you about. And maybe it could be a checks and balances for us.
Well, I think it's best, the more we have a handle on what's out there.
I agree.
Because when we have, for one reason or another, when you have staff change, I mean, from the top to the bottom, and there's knowledge lost, and it can be innocent, it's gone, and who's there to mind the store? So I think the more that there's a second set of eyes on this stuff, the more we're gonna catch. And this really isn't complicated. I mean, that's an easy form. I like it's
I do
just,
too.
I did bring out the opioid folder, I heard you guys talking
Oh,
about that.
good.
There's
Yes. Well, I was waiting to make sure he didn't have more to add, and then I was gonna bring that up with you here.
Yeah, I did have one more thing. The contracts for court-appointed attorneys, we had suggested to them that they should be involved with the process starting in March, so they've reached out to ask me when. So I don't know what to tell them.
this is for the budgeting process.
For the budgeting
Yeah.
process, yeah.
Remember last year, there's really no one that was advocating for them during the budget process as far as raises or anything. So,
Right. Right, so do we have do you have is there a date that you want them to come, or do we want to send them to one of the budget workshops?
Oh, well, so after, we're gonna need to add more dates to the budget workshop. We have, April 6th and then April 19th, but we weren't able to fit everybody in. So it was kind of like a good start, but we need
Sure.
to, probably choose some additional dates.
Can we just dedicate one of our weekly meetings to, like, 1 hour's worth of business, and then the rest of the budget workshop? Just cover the bills and the basics and make it a workshop for budget.
Okay,
Is that okay?
yeah.
I would be okay with that. So we probably wanna choose, so with like May 2nd,
That's funny, that's just the day I was looking at.
Was
when
it?
You said that.
and then that way it gives the public plenty of time to know it's not gonna, like, we're having budget workshop. So your suggestion was,
Well, we may have a little bit of business we have to vote on or something, but, approve the bills, or maybe we may have some, it's maybe the business meeting for, I don't know, an hour at the most, and then start a workshop? Or do you make it all workshop?
Well, is that gonna mess with our new timeline with we said we were gonna be here till 1? So, I mean, we're here, but you're talking about stopping the recorded meeting and going into a workshop, correct?
Right.
On,
So I almost feel like it'd be cleaner to just have a budget workshop that entire meeting
Okay.
and then push the business to the next. That way we can stay in line with the
That's fine.
public and, is that okay?
that's fine.
I know there'd be an issue with skipping a week if we had anything.
Should that be an issue as long as we, I mean, it's still open
I don't think
meeting
so.
and still, we would just publish it as a workshop instead of is that fine?
It's up to you, sure, you can do that.
That's what I'm fine with that. It's more a question than a,
So are we still looking at the 9 to 1 or you wanna go longer?
whatever. I mean,
9 to question mark, or do we need
That will allow us 4 if we stay in line with giving everyone.
we would do like 9 to 3 and take a little 30-minute lunch break.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
9 to 3? Ooh, that's gonna be a long one.
What are we looking at?
But if we do that, we should be able to cover a lot of turf, I
Yeah.
think.
You're talking about May 2nd?
Yeah. And then we'll break from 12 to 12:30 for lunch? Is that what you said?
Whatever you think.
A half an
At
hour?
least a half an hour in there.
Yeah.
Okay. You girls, we're kind of all over the place down here. May 2nd, it's a Tuesday, and rather than our current meeting format, we're just gonna do a budget workshop
Okay,
from 9 to 3 p.m. And then we'll take a half-hour break from 12 to 12:30. And as far as assigning the remaining of the times, or departments, we can work on getting that list together. Cause we got a good start for 2 workshops, but
Right.
there's still people that we need to add in there.
right.
I thought you wanted to do an hour of regular business maybe and start at 10?
Well, I threw that out,
Or-
but I was just more of a question than a
Oh.
request. We
Okay.
don't really have to do something.
You're gonna have to do your bills and a few things. But
Well,
9 to 3, that doesn't matter to me.
do we need, are you saying that we have to do that on the 2nd, or that we have to, because that would mean that we're gonna have to have a posting of a regular meeting and then go into a workshop.
Well, it is your regular meeting.
Right, but regular meeting time, but we weren't gonna even go into
Oh,
a session, we were gonna do a workshop setting.
So is it okay for us to have the bills here and just do them on our own? I mean, we never go through them in an open meeting, but make sure we get them signed and reviewed that day.
you can do that. I'm just thinking that it's likely that there will be somebody who wants to get your permission for something that day, because there almost always is. So,
And if there is, can we, as long as we're published that way, can we handle it at 9 and just postpone the first one for 15, 20 minutes if we need to?
Once we have business done, we just adjourn the workshop. We're still
Yeah.
here.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
But they,
Is that okay?
We can, on the 2nd, or on just a second? Okay,
so I should tell them May 2nd and then ask them for a time for that, or do we want to assign a time?
So we need to assign a time, but I need to look at who we're missing, so we can assign times to. Okay, sorry, I have to.
and they probably don't need a full hour, I wouldn't think. I mean, it's pretty
No,
short.
I would think 15 minutes would be enough.
Okay, so then let's put them at 9:15. Is that okay? Then if we have anything we can do and they show up 9:15, 9:30, and then we start the first.
Put them 9:15 to 9:45.
So half an hour.
That way we get a little buffer there just in case
Okay.
something does get us at 9.
court-appointed attorneys. And that'll be separate from the courts.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about that. They've been using, I mean, there's been a lot of expenses coming out of that, not just the monthly, because there's been additional cost for copies and phone calls and others that have been turned into the district court.
Okay, are those different from what it's been in prior years? Are they just taking from a different fund than they've done it in prior years, or? Because we got that one discussion point about the transcript, because they had an unbelievably large transcript requirement that wasn't budgeted for, but it's also something that's not likely to recur. And so they were taking that from a couple of different places, but are these unusual, I mean, compared to prior years?
I don't really know.
No, yeah,
Because I haven't been doing it very long, but I know I get on average of probably anywhere from 2 to 4 every month, every 6 weeks. And they range from a couple $100 to a couple thousand.
yeah, but we should probably look at those, but,
They get passed to me from district court. So she basically approves them and sends them on to me.
so do you enter the bills for district court?
I don't enter the bills for district court, I enter those because they're in a different fund. They're not through district court funds.
I see.
So, and some, depending upon who, there are certain permissions out there. So there are some people who, if they're just like Road and Bridge, she may only have Road and Bridge funds. She may not have additional funds, or if something needs to be billed to their account and my account, if it's something we purchased together or something, she may not have the capabilities to enter into it and like someone else's fund. So I do my share and I take those, so.
Okay, well, we could talk about them and look at them more, but yeah, these would be separate from district court. I don't know budget-wise if these are included in district court or not, but court-appointed attorneys, are they in the, is that under district court or is it a separate item?
It's a separate.
Okay.
And can you provide us with the information we've had the last couple of years where we've got the, all the asking for on the budget and then the
Everybody should
current,
be filling them out
yeah,
now.
the current, or the current budget and then rooms to fill it in? Okay. Those are very helpful.
And each department should be sending those to us, right? I mean, it's not your job to go.
They should be filling them out.
But I'm at just the printout with all of them just a list of all of them where we.
Oh, I know what you're talking about,
Kaylee gave
yes.
us that last year, I think. You had a
Yeah.
spreadsheet with all of the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
because that's
have it in there.
cheat sheet to keep in order, you know, what was they asking, what was it last year? It just, that's the most helpful thing, so. I know in the last couple of years, we've been keeping, normally do department heads bring a printed copy for each of us? Or do we, all three, do we want all the paper? But we should, or we have been keeping one file with all of the, at least a paper copy in it.
The one book.
So,
I think last year, I feel like they emailed us and then we printed them if we, like I printed one just because I like to write the notes because they go through and tell us, you know, as we're going through them.
be nice to have one paper copy to put in a file for the commission room, you know, that we have that, because sometimes it's just easier.
Well, that budget book that we make though is, it's very helpful for like even on the budget side, to making sure all the numbers are in there. So, because I mean, they put the numbers in there, but then there's other work to do once it gets approved.
Sure.
So, but yeah, so that budget book is a very big help. It's used a lot. We'll make sure that there's one in there.
So do we get everything email first?
I think that in the past, that's how we basically have done it,
Okay.
is they typically, we like for them to email you like a week in advance.
Yes,
So
in
probably
advance.
at least starting to get
I
some
mean,
of those
sooner.
emails. And then, you'll have those, and then a lot of times, it depends upon the department head, but some of them will bring each of you a copy, and go down the line by line item with you, and some of them won't, and just wait for questions from you. It kind of depends upon the department head.
Well, and some of these will be multiple occurrences. I mean,
Oh, yes.
they'll almost need to do a pre and then do a mid and then a final, so.
That's all I have.
Okay. Michelle, we talked about the opioid and you said you had heard us talking about it, so you brought the folder. Just wondering if, I know you had said that you talked to Nancy at the Attorney General's office, and she basically said no to the clerk and the counselor being that person?
She said she needed somebody that could sign for the county, and in her aspects, it's typically has been a commissioner or like the mayor for the cities. I recommended to have Mr. Henderson call, and she's like, oh, he's a lawyer, I don't talk to lawyers.
I like this guy.
Yeah,
Wow.
so,
Alright.
cause I just was, I was just kind of curious, as far as, I can sign certain documents, but I don't sign for the county unless it's been approved. So that's why she suggested it be an upper level, a commissioner to a point, because you're approving things for the county and therefore can sign. So I don't know, I mean,
Okay.
Are anything's time sensitive? I mean, it's one of those things.
Yeah, they are.
But I mean, with you, at our meeting, we all vote, she can
Yes.
sign, and she can sign.
yes.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
not
Well,
like,
and I was wondering if you guys wanna review it too, because it's only on my computer and I don't really wanna sign without you guys being a
Right.
part of it.
Right, and she did mention then that you would get an email and then you'd get a link to a passcode or something to unlock the encrypted part.
Yeah, I got the first one, well, you had sent me a heads up, and then on Friday, they sent me the actual review documents and e-sign, but then since I didn't do it, cause I was waiting for today to talk to you guys, they've sent 2 reminders, with deadlines and, hey, as a reminder, you're participating,
Right.
I need you to,
Apparently there's 5 new cases is what I was understanding from Nancy, that there was 5 new cases that were being pulled into the settlement. So, I heard Rite Aid maybe was one, potentially
5 additional.
5, that's the
Yeah.
impression I
So maybe
received.
there'd be 10 then, that's, cause we were waiting on 5.
CVS was one, I had the list here.
But Rite Aid, I didn't remember.
Yeah, I didn't remember.
CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, Teva, T-E-V-A, and Allergan were the others that were on
That we
the
haven't received.
pre-made list that we have not received.
I think that one's a mail order pharmacy. Does it make sense? It's like a contract pharmacy. Is it real long? You want to read it?
Well, I just clicked on it to review it with you guys, and it said, for your security, we have to send you a new link because it's been so much time since I opened it. But they already did, so here, hold on, let me open this new link. Oh, goodness. I agree to use electronic records and signatures. Continue. New national opioid settlement, and then it says Teva, Allergen, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart opioids implementation administrator, Atchison County, Kansas. To local political subdivisions and special districts, this package contains documentation to participate in the new national opioid settlement. You must take action in order to participate. The deadline is April 18th of 2023. 5 new proposed national opioid settlements have been reached with Teva, Allergan, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart. This participation package is a follow-up communication to the notice of national opioid settlements recently received electronically by your subdivision or special district. So we are receiving this participation package because Kansas is participating in those 5 settlements. If a state does not participate in the particular settlement, the subdivisions in that state are not eligible. And I mean, how to return signed forms, you have to electronic sign, which when we originally did this, did the chairman sign the original opioid settlement? I mean, cause this
You
just,
passed a resolution, I think.
okay. So it's just a continuation from this wording of what we've already,
I've got an idea, I don't know if it would work. If that was sent to commissioners, where we would all see it, but you would have the authority to sign it?
I asked and she said only one.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
Well,
It's since it's encrypted and it's.
oh, okay.
But you could print it to PDF and send a PDF to everyone and
Yeah,
look at it
Yeah.
next week.
could get a new link.
I know, right?
And apparently
Well-
what happened is, from what I got from Nancy during the phone conversation, is that they sent our letter and link to Abby, its mayor, and then realized it was the wrong entity.
Oh,
So I don't believe we received the first link, letter, email sent out.
So after what I just read you, then they have exhibit Ks, and we can actually answer the questions together if you'd like, cause it's just to select yes or no based on will your subdivision district be signing the settlement participation forms for Allergen and Teva settlements at this time. So it's yes or no, I click one or the two, and then it keeps going to the other ones, yes or no, and then I mean, if we wanna walk through the questions and we can answer them together, and then it's done.
I bet you can handle it. You never got it.
I mean, my answer after we've already gotten 25,000 would be yes on all of them.
Right.
Yes, we wanna participate. Oh, goodness. Yeah, okay, so then I'm gonna have to put my contact info in that. Man, it would be nice to have the clerk, just so everybody could be aware of this, but.
Sounds like that's not an option.
All right, well, I'll just forward any correspondence to you, Michelle, that I get, and you can share. Because if you can see this, it's just, I have to fill in my name, the county address, phone number, email,
Okay.
which I'll put the clerk's office phone number, my email, and then just sign.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Each one of them. And then let me just make sure there's nothing at the end. That's exactly what it is for just those 5, so
Yeah.
if you guys are good with that.
I'm okay.
And then that will be done today so that we can be done with that. Alright,
Should we have a motion in the minutes that we approve that, as far as approve her being the signatory for that?
yeah, probably. Okay. Do I have a motion to allow the chairman to sign the opioids implementation administrator documents on behalf of Atchison County, Kansas?
Yes,
Okay.
also move.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0.
This came into.
Okay. All right. And we are ready, estimated 80 parcels. So, this is just following up on the recommendation from county councilor for abstracting, for the tax sale. So I would entertain a motion to approve a purchase order to O'Keefe Wilson Abstracting in the amount of $10,000.
I think that's premature, because I will send them the 80, I will send them and we'll pay them when they come in, when they.
I
get their
just
reports.
figured I would go ahead and get it signed, that way it's up to that amount for
Oh,
80,
all right.
estimated 80.
Not to exceed.
We'll have the
Right.
contract next week.
Cause I do have an estimated amount on there an estimated 80 parcels. So it's up to you. I just kind of, maybe I jumped prematurely, but I just thought it'd be best to have it signed.
That's up to you. I will have a contract next week.
Why don't we
I'll
put it
just
in
keep
with
it in and wait.
next week, we'll do it together.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
So-
It's okay. I did the same thing for Brian when he, with his mowing. I wanted to get it signed.
Okay, what else? Oh, I had, a question. We had talked about how we're going to handle the tax sale properties of putting them in the county's name and then publishing that list. Is that something we need to have a resolution on so that it's made known what the process is? Just because I sat, still on, Amy Finch had sent us an email with
Right.
Commissioner Rivas, myself and you and Tina, giving us an update of where her land bank people were. And a part of me went to respond to let her know, like, now the county has a process, but I didn't want to speak out of turn without coming back to the table with you guys to say, I mean, somewhere, because I know she searches our minutes and she searches our resolutions to see what our process is. And we had decided to put them in the county's name, that way, was it 60 days or 6 months after they're
60
in?
months after they're in the county.
After in the county's name, we can publish them and sell them, like a reserve bid, unreserved bid, like we did
Right.
Sherman Road and Parallel. And so I just wanted to follow up and see if we need to do something so we can let her know, like, stay tuned, we have a process in place now.
I don't know that you'd need to have a resolution for that, because you'll have to do something with each individual sale.
I was just
And
curious.
that process is by statute.
Kind of going back to when we changed, then the processes go away with it. Like, I just didn't know if we have to, like, where we would put something like that, so we follow the same thing until somebody changes it, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, we haven't had those, there are a whole bunch of decisions in the tax sale that, I mean, a lot of them we don't ever even talk about, like service of process on where there's a deceased person in the chain of title. I don't know that you want to be involved in all of those. But there is a policy decision that I make, I guess, and that is that we're going to do all that's required by statute, but not going to do what is suggested by title insurance companies. And I guess that is a policy. But if you want to have a written policy, we could have one. But
Again, it seemed like I asked this before, I just don't remember. So if we put these properties in the county's name and they don't get sold or taken out, are we gonna be mowing lots and things all over the county? Are we gonna be,
well,
Each commissioner does their district mowing, so.
Oh, gosh.
so these would almost all be yours.
yeah,
I think maybe all of them.
I'll second
Yeah.
that.
Hey, that backfired.
That's funny.
I'll take that back.
And we all have some in the city.
Yeah. I have cats.
Right.
You know, the city might send us letters because we're the record title owner of the property, but
Well, would they mow it and send us an assessment?
possibly.
The city does a contract mower for their lots, so maybe you'll just, whoever that is this year, contact them and say, hey, we need to do these lots as well, and it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, if we're not doing, because I was thinking of in-house trying, Road and Bridge is doing the lake and everything, but, to be going around,
Oh, no.
that's what I'm thinking, time constraints.
They're probably mowing right next door to some of them anyway, so it's, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
guess,
just want to make sure that we're aware that would be a charge or things, and, we don't want to be surprised on the other end, because some of these individuals that have bought in sales tax sale properties, and then they thought they had to leave it alone for a year, well, they didn't even mow it or take care of it, and then they had assessments on top of it. couple years ago, and it was not a good
It's
situation.
happened to me, and Pat knows that, but there's been situations where, you know, it's really not yours, it's still, there's kind of this, no man's land kind of time frame is what it feels like, and we actually had a house that got set on fire after a tax sale that, well, whose is it? You know?
Well, you purchase at the someone purchases at the sale, but the deed's not issued until the sale's confirmed by the court, and that could take a month or longer.
So we got caught, which is true, we got caught in that time frame where it's like,
Right.
I guess I just wanted to bring it up with all three of us so that, because I didn't want to respond without talking to everyone. And if we want Pat to respond with what we've decided, I don't like not responding to someone. So I think that the city manager needs a response.
yeah, I think they're still considering things, they just haven't, you know, the way I read that, it was kind of.
Right, but since then, we've talked about putting them all in the county's name so we can publish them all. And then they would just bid on them like anybody in Atchison would. So just making sure they're aware, like, hey, when these are published, we'll let you know, and then at that point, put your bids in, just like anybody in Atchison, if they're interested. The communication piece, I just don't like to drop communication. I want to make sure.
Well,
But
I
I
mean,
didn't
it
wanna
keeps us going on what, you know, following through.
Yeah, exactly. I just didn't want to do it without rehashing that to make sure I was under the understanding that we were still,
I guess that, I'm okay with it.
okay. So, Pat, would you mind replying on behalf of all three of
I
us?
can do that, yeah,
Thank you. And will you just CC the commissioners in?
sure.
Thank you. Okay, and then, I just want to make sure, Pat, will you be responding to Emily Ganell with the Coma Cora addition to the township meeting also? Because you had suggested, I just don't want someone
Yeah.
to, so that it gets on there.
Roger can't be there, is someone else gonna present, was he gonna do a presentation? And now he can't, or because he says he's not gonna be able to be there.
Yeah, I wonder if Jack could come.
Oh, he does. That'd be good.
He could get introduced to everybody, and he's,
Be very versed on it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Roger actually has him, communicating on his behalf. So he would be good. He would be good. Okay, well, I plan to attend, but I didn't have any other suggestions.
Yeah, I plan on being there.
Did you guys have anything you
What's the
wanted
date
to
on
add?
it? Yeah,
I just have it, April 10th at 6 p.m.
yeah, I can be there for the problem, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Anything you guys want to add to that? I mean,
I can't think of any.
What else typically comes up at these, maybe is there anything to anticipate?
oh, you know what? One thing we could add is, well, Roger usually does it, which he can make the maps ahead of time, but that's usually a good thing where they each sit at their table and highlight any sections of the road that they're not, or that they're taking care of that aren't highlighted already. He's been doing that every year at those meetings and catching certain segments that, so, we might wanna just, I know he can't be there, but we might wanna ask him if he wants those maps.
Well, I think some townships have never followed up on it. Other ones, I think, give updates every year, so, yeah.
Well, and maybe, I just watched like mine, they're sitting there with their highlighter doing what he asked them to, and it worked well, but. Best practices, that's a good one. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that.
I also put it in Michelle's name first, so she'll get blamed.
Thanks.
Strategic.
Okay.
Now, I wonder that gal didn't want to talk to lawyers.
Exactly.
Is that never throw her in there so you don't get thrown in there?
Yeah. We had one where we kept adding things to the agenda and they were all me. And so there were, you remember that one?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there were 5 or 6 things and they were all me talking to them. So,
The Pat hour.
yeah. And I'm told I'm better in small doses. So.
Sign those documents and all of that.
Pat, did you want any feedback from us on the MDS consultant thing? Is that,
Oh, yes.
I was just kind of double checking stuff here, I saw that.
I filed it just because I was hoping the administrator would.
Yeah, I had suggested that she just need to sign it and then present it to the board, but if there's some, because, and you'll need to approve it, but if there's something that you see that's obviously needs to be changed, it's a lot easier to change it before they've reviewed it.
I read through it, and as far as I know, was your referencing, like how to write this more from, did David, and you work on this together, is this just you doing this, or?
Well, I did the rough draft, I sent it to him and to Jody, and we made a couple changes to it. So,
I thought it was fine from my perspective, because you have their perspective, it's even better, so. How long does the township meeting usually last?
I think we try to keep it at about an hour. It's gone over, but certainly 90 minutes would be.
Okay, that's just a good idea. That's good. I assumed as much, but
I think the first one took a couple hours, but that was when we were just introducing a lot of, like the map, and so some of them wanted to kind of stay there and go through that, but for the most part, it's just
okay.
like a re-up every year. Policy changes and forms and such.
May I put your phone number for the opioid contact phone number?
6030, please.
674?
913
Uh-huh.
804 6030.
Okay.
That's the office phone number, because I don't like to give my direct line, because if I'm on the phone with something, it goes straight to my voicemail, and I prefer somebody talking.
What about for the email? What if I put commissioners@atco.ks.org? Is that,
Oh, I wondered that too. We have one for grants and it asked for the commissioner's email, or just a general
yeah.
county.
And that way it would come to all three of us, even if one of us is
Does-
acting on the behalf, it would be an easy way as an FYI that,
Is that a moderated listserv? If anybody can send an email to that?
I'm pretty sure, I don't know. I mean, I guess I've given it,
Why is this hopping on?
What email are you talking about?
the commissioners@atco.ks.org.
Yeah, anybody can send an email to that. Anybody in the world.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
That way
Yeah.
it's,
Try it.
okay.
So I had asked you earlier, but I don't know, are you on the agenda for the township meeting? Because I had wondered if Michelle were to speak a little bit to this year on their budget process. They are gonna meet.
Yes, I'm going to. I'm gonna call them. They have not gotten the phone call, because they're gonna be scheduled on a specific date and time, and information that we need to have prior to that meeting.
For their budget meetings.
Yes.
But I was just wondering about this meeting, whether you were gonna speak to them.
I can.
That'd be good.
Well, just to reiterate, so there's like, make sure that everybody's kinda knows what's going on.
Right, right.
Ahead of time.
Right,
It's a good time to catch as many as possible.
exactly.
Eric, you got a chance to read that Lyon County employee handbook?
Briefly, I just kind of done a quick preview.
Yeah, I got started through, I'm gonna try to get through it before Friday.
Yeah, I've been procrastinating about that one.
Save a copy of your document. It's in it, okay, I'm not gonna save a copy of it then because you have to set up an account. Because we all got an email. That I completed it, did you see that? Did you guys get it?
Just now?
It came to the one that was submitted, so, I'll just forward this to you guys so you can see that I completed it. You finish signing, you'll receive a copy once everyone has signed. What's that?
You said something?
Yeah. Forward. Oh, sorry, I have to external content, let me. Okay. Done. Okay. So that should be all that I needed to do then,
Got that.
unless I get something else in the meantime.
Still loading. Let's turn my screen here. Okay, it just came up. So it would open.
Do you guys want any communication with the interim director at Senior Village? Like, I haven't had any conversations, and like when we get emails about things, he's in charge and he's running it, but like for giving Brian direction and different things, like again, I treat him as the department head and,
Right.
but I just don't know that since he's interim, it's more of a cleanup process than an update the commission process, like he's in there for a reason,
Yeah.
but next Wednesday is when the board was gonna do interviews on the other two candidates. So maybe an update after that would be,
I
or
would agree, it's probably fine.
is that okay with you guys? Okay,
Because that was the other direction as far as that process.
Mhm.
Could be fine.
Okay, I'll just tell him that after our meeting next Wednesday that, hey, because we should walk away from the meeting with a recommendation based on all candidates and then be able to discuss that. I'm excited, actually, you know what, I don't think we need to because he's scheduled to come to us for the budget discussion. And that'll be a good time where we can really find out how things are going.
See you on the 6th.
April 6th, yeah. So we'll just leave it at that, where we can talk to him. Because I know he's finding several areas of the budget that we can have savings in, hopefully.
And you did send us your workshop schedule, right?
Yes. And I just copied it on a Word document for me, because I was gonna get with Michelle on the ones I forgot, or didn't forget, but we ran out of time. So if we have 9:15 to 9:45 court-appointed attorneys then, do you wanna do district court right after that? They probably won't need an hour with us, a half hour. I mean,
Well, she's never came before.
well,
Donna has.
Donna used to, but this will be
Oh, she didn't.
Bria. I don't know that she did last year or anything, but I know she has in the past.
yeah.
I wasn't at all your
I
budget.
understand she wants to do a lot more scanning and stuff, so we may have that conversation, but yeah.
Okay, so, so if 9:45, then how long do you want with district court?
20. You know, it's just a guess. I'd say 20 minutes. I don't.
Yeah, you're doing 30 minutes with the court-appointed attorneys. I think that's probably longer than you need.
Okay,
Okay.
so you wanna do 15 with them, and then that gives us 30 from 9:30 to 10 with district court?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So this is for May 2nd, so that's a while away, because I was gonna say, I know Kathy's got her plate full for community corrections, but I thought if we won't,
Who's left to put in there?
well, so we have community corrections, and then we have register of deeds and treasurer, which both of those don't take a full hour by any means. I think we could squeeze those in, cause they're short, sweet, and elected, so, you know, not a lot of,
So we got 30 minutes apiece probably.
okay. So if we did 9:30 to 10 district court, and we did 10 to 10:30 community corrections, and then we did 10:30 to 11 ROD, and then 11:30 to 12 treasure, and then we break for lunch, and then we would come back and we could do the clerk for an hour, cause she has elections and the clerk, and then the sheriff for an hour. And who am I forget, who are we forgetting?
Do the sheriff need an hour?
His is in depth.
Okay.
I mean, it,
That's fine. I was asking.
it's one of the bigger budgets, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the more time would be better to ask, to be able to visit.
So this is just the second? May
Yeah,
2nd?
cause we have, okay, so we have maintenance, human resources, IT, GIS, EMS, senior village, road and bridge, county attorney, solid waste, appraiser, and joint communications. So who are we missing after? And
You already got some of those scheduled, right?
yeah, I'm just naming them all so we make
Okay,
sure.
okay, so I wish the street was for that.
But what day they're, when they are appearing? I mean, this is, your list first here is just for May 2nd.
Yes, yep. I just wanna make sure that we're not forgetting anyone. Court appointed attorneys, district court, 9:30. 10 a.m. community corrections.
Was that email from you that has that list, or was it from Michelle?
It might have been for me to all. Community corrections, register of deeds. Treasurer. We might have a longer lunch break than what, or we can just keep going and get done earlier. Like, I mean, still do a 30-minute lunch and then just get done earlier. Cause if the treasurer is only 30 minutes, that gets us to 11:30, so we could do break 11:30 to noon and then do Michelle, noon to 1, sheriff, 1 to 2, and be done at 2.
That's fine.
Are we forgetting anybody else? It's, when you start rattling them off, I just never
Okay.
wanna.
Give me just 1 second.
11:30 a.m. to noon break. And then noon clerk. And 1 p.m. sheriff. And then I'm gonna print this. And we can look and see if if we're forgetting anybody. And I spelled attorney general. Yes. Printer.
So it's 4, 6, 419 and 52.
Yep. Oh, and
I just wanted to kind of go up.
Yeah.
Do you want a copy of this?
I'm gonna go get the one I just printed too.
Did you just print something?
Yeah, with the ones we just wrote down. Is it on, maybe on the back?
Nope.
No, this is the first part of
We
it.
just got an email from Jody on the budget.
Is she not on it? Oh. Oh, she sent her a budget.
Oh, that's her budget. Okay. I thought maybe she heard us.
How many copies did you make, Michelle?
I made 5.
Okay, I'm gonna make a few more with this, and then. That should say /EM too.
Oh, okay.
But I just thought one time, I mean, we don't have to bring it back.
Yeah.
Where's rescue fall?
What's that?
You look at rescue.
Well, and that's what he just said about EM, because I forgot to put IT, GIS, EM, and a rescue will all be that one. I mean, he'll come one time for an hour. Sorry, okay.
Is rescue under EMS or under IT?
Did I forget? Are we forgetting anyone, Michelle?
Is
I'm sorry, what was that, Alan?
So where's rescue go?
With Wes, with under, the IT. 2023 budget. Workshop. Oh, the county council. Sorry about that. We need to put him in here too.
Okay.
3 or 4
Oh, county
times.
attorney, okay.
Yeah, sorry. So if we do, so then you wanna do 1 to 2.
Yeah, but on April the 19th, do all of those need a full hour? County attorney? She really needs a full hour?
No, probably not. You wanna do 9:30 county council?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
That's a good point, probably not. I can't really remember. She usually comes in and tells us exactly what,
Fully prepared.
yeah.
Yeah. That's, some of them
And I
are
don't-
just direct, others are question. Well, there's, different budgets are, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
I need direction. Other ones, it's like pretty cut and dry.
Right.
The register of deeds, everything is pretty straight.
Yeah, it's a little one, and same with treasurer. I mean, they're pretty, they just come in and tell us what's. Did you girls hear that we're doing half hour with county attorney and then 9:30 Pat?
Yeah,
Yep. Okay.
yeah, I have that changed.
Did we forget anybody?
I don't think so. I thought GIS, but you have GIS up there with IT.
And rescue needs.
And rescue. Yeah, and I added election behind clerk.
You have an hour for the appraiser, is that probably an hour? Or the communications coming a little sooner?
Well, I just think it's a good time for us to talk about like all the things, like when we're going through the policy, like peer reviews, like all the,
No, that's good.
just a good conversation, because we never have one-on-one time with our,
And also with that office, there's the moving and the thing kicks on automatically,
oh,
the generator.
okay.
So I think it's when the lights blink like that. She's
like,
doing this,
It's like, what was that? I know,
not like the tornado they had down there in the south. Can you imagine the force that had? I just can't believe the footage.
We found out right when it works at our house.
Good. Oh, why?
The power was out in the neighborhood a few days ago.
Potter lost power too, and down that way, they said over the weekend. What was yours called?
Yeah, that was my cousin's visitation in Houston, and
Oh.
the church went out of power. Yeah, I just thought it was a divine sign of some sort. Yeah, power lights. What was out all the time down there? Because there was power all the time down there.
Really?
That's what you're saying, huh? This looks good.
Looks good to me.
Awesome.
Then so this is all the budget presentations, and we'll talk about reviews and stuff. Then what's our next date for, what are our deadlines to have budget ready? So we'll have to more conversations about this.
Yeah, did we ever get a finalized printed version of our budget calendar?
I don't think so. Okay, you say no, so I just right.
I was saying no because Michelle was saying no.
No. Is it finalized or nearing?
We have one out there, but there was just additional information that they wanted to put in, so.
And just so, if you look at the HR's budget, that's what each department will send us like that. So that we'll get the expense, you see the budget, and then the breakdown,
Get back to that.
which is, that's a perfect example, because they'll all look like that, which is helpful.
Most of them will look at like that.
Right. Okay.
Okay, well, is there anything else that we wanted to talk about today?
I don't have anything.
Any executive sessions needed?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay. Any public comment?
I don't see anybody on.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. It is 1 o'clock and we will adjourn. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.